Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Menu Log Meal Time, where we're getting ready for a couple of science experiments, I reckon. You feel safe with those on? If I hit you with these. Nah, wait.
Actually, there's no glass in there, Mac. Alright, I'm done.
Maximise?
Yeah.
Maximise question mark?
Yeah, what's going on? Either way, look, it's Menu Log Meal Time. It's time for you guys to get your menu poges on in the chat. Of course, you can win yourself that $40 voucher and have a little bit of dessert. That game went for a while. It's definitely past dinner time. You can have a late dinner. Look, no judgment here, of course. But look, of course, if you feel like snacking, you can use the code that's going to be jumping up down below as well. Spend at least $20, get $10 off from grocery shops, all the little snack places, your 7-Elevens, etc. on Menu Log, so make sure you get that in. It has to be between 5 p.m. to 5 a.m. So look, 4 a.m. you can still use it.
Perfect snack time.
Absolutely beautiful. Speaking of a snack, you look like a snack before, but
thanks,
we are going to be playing a little altered version of Celebrity Heads today.
I can see myself on camera. Is that a problem?
No,
Okay.
you can't anymore.
No cheating.
Well, there we go.
No
Production
cheating,
has
man.
solved
Who
that
wants to
for me.
pick the snack?
Give me a stack
A
on top of your
snack?
head, mate.
There you go. There you go, mate. Yep. Anyway, look, so yeah, while that's happening, of course, rules are Max has a certain amount of guesses. He's got 3 guesses at what he is. Oh, wow, this is pretty open. Open to interpretation.
Isn't it?
Is it?
Yep.
It's not specific, like... All
Who
right,
knows, mate?
I will start off easy.
Yep.
Am I sweet?
Can be.
Oh, mate.
Oh,
Oh, mate.
Oh,
Come
no.
on.
You can be.
Actually, true. I've actually made this way too hard. I thought it was really easy.
I was going to say no, but
The answer is can be.
can be.
Can be.
Yep.
Do I come in small, like, the little snack bags?
You can.
Are you serious?
I've actually made this too hard. Oh, no.
No,
I thought it was so
Their
simple.
answer is
You can.
yes, but you can also be big.
Yeah.
Am I crunchy?
You can be.
No, what is it? Are you serious? I've got 3 candies. I just have to guess. I just have to Hail Mary.
Yeah, you got
Am I popcorn?
No.
No.
You can't be popcorn.
Oh, don't laugh at my guesses, guys. You haven't
more
given me...
guesses. Ask like
I'm just laughing at how I thought it was so easy.
ask where you're made and stuff. You know, like
Yeah, it has to be yes or no.
where
though,
can
right?
I be bought?
It has
Like
to be yes or no, right?
yeah. So you have to. Am I from a shop?
What? Can I be bought from, like, a supermarket?
Yeah.
Yes, but that's everything can be bought in the supermarket. Let's narrow it down.
Do you want to give me a question that I could ask?
Say,
What do you go well with?
yeah. Do I go well with the Dare Ice coffee?
Do I go... Well, anything goes well with the Dare Ice
Yes.
coffee,
That's
Matt.
true.
No, but
The
ask,
answer
but ask
is-
the question.
Okay, do I go well with the Dare Ice coffee?
Absolutely.
Yes, mate.
Absolutely.
Oh, without
Absolutely.
a doubt.
Oh.
Easy pairing.
Oh. See, now I'm thinking biscuit, because it's like... I'm sort of like on that wave, but you said it can be savory or sweet,
Yeah.
right?
Prefer the savoury with the Dare
All right,
Ice
let's
coffee.
pretend savoury with the Dare Ice coffee.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. How many would you have of me at the one time?
One, unless you're a bit of a glutton.
Oh,
the
right.
Or if it's a party and then a lot of one.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's a good answer.
Ask about your temperature. That'll definitely.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
good. That's good.
Yep.
Am I a
Yeah.
hot or a cold food?
Your thermonuclear.
For this one, you're
Thermonuclear.
Really
a hot
hot.
food.
You're a hot.
Yes,
So
mate.
really hot,
Yep.
and I'm sweet. Am I a meat pie?
Yes,
You
mate.
are. Well, you're half
Come
of it.
on.
You're half of it.
You have to
Nailed
read
it,
this.
mate. Nailed it. Look, there you go.
Because I said
You
pie.
just wrote
And
pie.
as I wrote it, I was
Yeah.
like, but you could be an apple pie. And then I
Yeah.
was like, but
you
it
can
could be
also
a party
a magpie,
pie.
but
And then,
look, that you don't really eat those. Either
Ah.
way, we're swooping out of Menu
my
Log Meal
hair.
Time
Good
and
recovery,
jumping
mate.
on into the second game, of course. Let's talk about Chiefs first, up against Bliss today. But Chiefs, of course, the returning champions from the last time these two teams went head-to-head.
That they certainly are. And yeah, they've shown that, look, they have that championship form within them. They've looked very, very dominant in their victories. But on the flip side, when they do lose, you start to wonder, where is that consistency? Why is this not the case every single game? Obviously, the big thing we were really impressed with was in that third and final game. They locked in the Zeri. We were all screaming for it, saying, please, make it happen. Raze delivers, gets the 13 kills in the Zeri. and everything is right in the world again. And I'm really curious about this one because there seems to be this huge rivalry forming between Chiefs and Bliss. And I'm thinking this is one of those games where it's like, it's time to try and settle business once and for all.
Another battle for Brizzy, and Bliss want to be the capital B.
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Of course.
Why not?
Either way, why not is in the roster. That's so true.
Second time we've
Daystar
done
as
that.
well. Daystar as well has been really popping off recently. And Max, I want your take on what Bliss need to do today up against the like of Chiefs to get it done.
Okay, so Bliss and Chiefs are sort of polar opposites for me, right? I think Chiefs, on the one hand, are very good at playing the game stable and playing pretty standard, whereas Bliss prefer to opt for blowing open the game early, right? We see them win hard or lose hard, particularly with picks like the Elise, really explosive ball ends like we're seeing now with the Draven.
Yeah.
They either get big leads and snowball them, or they fall behind, they consistently look for fights, and they lose. So I think that if they are looking to get some wins today, they need to make sure this bot lane goes well for them. That was really their downfall in the first game, when in matchups they really shouldn't be. Chiefs bot lane were able to capitalize, able to force Bliss to make mistakes, and particularly Benvi, I know he's talked about it, wasn't really playing up to his caliber, right? So I'm really looking at Lemus, I'm really looking at Benvi to get dialed in, because we know that if Daystar gets ahead and the game state is pretty even, that he will carry, right? So Bliss bot lane needs to be that stability that they can play off to snowball the rest of the game.
I also heard the term draft gap thrown out there every now and then too. Either way, Team Bliss did manage to come through with a win in one of these games in the last series, so there definitely is hope, especially if they think they are going to play a better game today, Rusty.
Yeah, I mean, Bliss, honestly, they shouldn't lose hope, and I do actually just want to echo the sentiments of what Max was saying there as well, and you're going to see all the stats on your screen now, because Benvi's KDA kind of speaks to the tail of the tape the most. 117-19 is an extremely rough affair. The other place that I actually want to bring up, though, is Lived versus Biopanther.
Yeah.
Because while we've been talking about all these things that, you know, Bliss might be able to do to win the game, Biopanther was going crazy. Even in his loss, he was, you know, without a death on this gangplank. And I feel like if that's just going to continue to be the case, Lived actually is the one who needs to step up the most. Think back to the last series between Pensinet and Direwolves. Top lane has had a significant impact on the state of the game overall.
Yeah.
They were killing each other, and sometimes it was for no reason, but when a team fight broke out, they were everything. And Liv was only really valuable one time in that second game, and the rest of the team just revolves around the president in mid lane in Daystar. So they just need someone else to step up.
There was also a few questions about the bot lane of Chiefs, you know, occasionally underperforming as of late, but in that series, that's when Aladoric started to get back to his roots, getting able to play those engaged champs, because we got come into a meta where the buffs started to come through for those engaged champs again, and then Raze as well starting to pop off and looking like he's hitting his form again. Either way, we have Babip on the line to have a quick chat to for the pre-game interview. Babip, mate, it's been a while since we've had a chinwag. How are you feeling going into this one?
It has been a while. I'm feeling pretty good again. I mean, it's a rematch. I'm not really sure this format is like having so many rematches, but feeling confident, yeah.
Beautiful.
So last time you guys played, the one loss you guys took against Bliss was off the back of Daystar having a monster performance. Is he someone you're particularly worried about heading into today's series?
Not really. I think that Ron's probably the best mid in the league, so not really too worried, no.
Did you get any insight into Team Bliss's draft from their game yesterday? Did you think maybe they leaked a few things they're going to try to change up going into this second attempt at taking you boys down?
I don't really think they didn't really show anything like new. It's like all things that we already know. I mean, I think both teams kind of have a good read on each other. It's kind of just going to come down to like gameplay.
Perfect. And speaking to that gameplay, and you yourself certainly had a resurgence, particularly in form in this last series. Is there anything you want to say to perhaps some critics who have been harsh on your performance this split?
I don't know, like...
How about to your fans?
It's a word to my fans.
Yeah.
Just keep supporting us. We're just going to keep working hard and probably have another world showing.
Beautiful.
Or the qualifiers, whatever.
And look, on that note, Babip, look, we'll let you go. Enjoy the game today and hopefully you get that dub.
Thank you very much.
Good to hear from him. Of course, he was trying to hold his tongue. He didn't want to, you know,
I wanted
shout
him
out
to go.
the... Yeah,
I want him to go against
we
the
want him to
critics.
go, but I'm sure Chiefs and all their sponsors
That's
don't want
true.
him to go.
Yep.
You know, we could then get in trouble for, hey, you shouldn't have lit the bloody kindling under him.
Isn't it crazy that he's already thinking about Worlds?
Yeah.
He hasn't even qualified for MSI or the PCS qualifiers yet. We were thinking about Worlds.
Big picture.
Mans is in the future.
Yeah.
We're just catching up.
We're just catching up. But is that correct? You know, they still have a fair bit to do here. Of course. Wait, Worlds? Yeah, wait, no, that's past PCS.
Ages away.
That's way in
That's
the
like
future.
September.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's ages
Yeah.
away.
That's after next split.
Yeah.
Got another bloody season coming through.
It feels to me as if it's almost like you're believing your own hype as a super roster, the best parts of what made Order and Chiefs so good last year. And it's like, this roster deserves to be there. So that's what we're fighting for. That's what we're going to get towards, right? So, yeah, whilst this season has been probably the most impressive since LCO's inception, it's like, that's cool and all, and we can all get excited about that, but it's going to be Chiefs going there. So it's kind of like this like middling of like confidence and ego, but like trying to strike that happy balance.
Okay, happy balance, huh? How do you think this balance is going to look in the bot lane? Because we got to chat to Lemus in just a second. But up against Raze, it's a big difficulty. You know, Benvi said it was maybe his fault the other day. But if Lemas plays like he did the other day, he didn't do too bad. But if Benvi's there, if Benvi's activating up against the likes of Raze and Aladoric, then they have much more of a chance down in bot.
Yeah, I think so, especially. I mean, I think if they play like the double enchant or the double ranged poke comp in the bot lane again, it just really stems a lot of the frustration. You know that Aladoric wants to be that Leona, wants to be that Rakana and Nautilus, wants to engage. But things like the Hamid, the barrel effect, as you've coined it, really look to try and stem that down. And that looked to be where they found their most success, right? A roaming Sion from top to bot. So much CC. You just aren't allowed to play those Akalis, those Silences, because you're just constantly headshot with a barrage of CC.
What do we feel like is like the Couch's favorite champ for Lemas to play? From memory? Was it like the Draven?
I mean,
I feel like he's popped off.
your
more.
answer is like Lethality, Varus, or Draven. That's the only two things that are coming to my head right now. I don't like either of them at the present moment. Is he a Zeri player?
I don't think he's a big Zeri player. If you asked me way earlier in this bit, I would have said Lucian. I think anything that enables him and Benvi to smash the lane.
Well, look, I have the man on the phone to have a quick chat to Lemas. How you doing? And also, what ADCs are good right now? Oh. That was just,
he's staying
that was just
very
a picture.
still.
Thanks for asking,
That was just a picture. He said, guys, look, I got to go to the game.
He's got better things.
Wait, can we go back? Can we go back and get Rusty to do the Lemus interview? The answer's no. No, we're not going.
Here he is. No, he's here.
There he is. Is he moving? Ah, here he is. Did you hear me the first time?
No.
Oh, beautiful. Well, I'll ask it again. Lemus, look, glad to have you with us. How are you doing? How are you feeling going into today? And also, what ADCs are good at the moment?
Feeling pretty good. When it comes to ADCs that are good, I think maybe like Teemo, bit of Veigar, maybe a bit of like Draven as well here and there if it's good.
Thanks, bro. Really good stuff from you. Now, you and Benvi, definitely a really confident 2v2 bot lane that gets going when you guys are ahead. Is there anything you two have talked about in particular? I know Raze and Aladoric are historically a very scary bot lane to go against. What's the sort of dialogue been between you two to try to maintain your confidence heading into today?
Well, the dialogue is track Babip because bot lane can't win 2v2.
Is that Wynot's fault, though? Or is that...
Not really. It's more like I'm kind of like a ganker magnet right now. And like the Chiefs have figured that out. So the game plan is let's just gank bot and they'll die to every gank.
So you're the win condition. There you go.
Well, what I was going to ask... Sorry, Lemus. So you're saying that they can't win 2v2, they have to bring their jungler down, is what you're saying?
Yeah, pretty much. Exactly.
Cool. There you have it.
There you have it. Now, look, if you have some Lemus fans in the chat, we know there's going to be Lemus fans out there because you've been playing absolutely insane this split so far. Do you have any messages for them going into today's game, just to calm their nerves? Because I'm sure they're pretty nervous going up against Chiefs.
Well, to my fans, firstly, I'm very thankful that you guys support us and support Bliss. I think this game, like, it's not like a do or die kind of game, so I think you guys can just have hope in the fact that we'll try our best and we'll put on a good performance for you guys.
Okay, well, I'm looking forward to seeing that performance unfold. Lemas, look, we'll let you go. Enjoy the game and good luck.
Thanks, guys. Stay out.
and a few words.
Benvi waving.
I thought it was a
Nevis,
Benvi
it was
hand.
Benvi's hand.
Was it
waving.
Benvi's
Oh,
hand?
yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was just like, you know, like puppets when they have these long arms that come up like this and they're like, I thought it was just like that going on. Either way, Chiefs select inside first. They're going with red side to kick off the game. No surprises there. Who are they saving that counter pick for? Answer that in a second after the Dare fan vote. You guys get the Twitch points in. Of course, let us know what you think is going to go down here. I think a fair few people gained and lost some points before.
I was trying to pretend to be Mac for a second. Up there, put your votes up there. I have no muscle to do
You got to
that.
do it this way. You got to do it this way. You got to up there.
Stop giving him opportunities to do this.
There.
Okay.
Predictions time. I've gone for Bliss because everyone else didn't.
Yeah, you have.
Yep.
Fair enough.
Why?
2-1.
It worked for me in the last series.
Yeah, it worked for Rusty. You know, going against the grain, comeback mechanics as well because my score is absolutely turd right now.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Yep.
That's-
So I'm either digging the grave bigger or
Hey, did Twitch get the last one right? Do we know that? Because they
Oh,
were
yeah, I don't
50-50, weren't they? How does that work?
How does that work?
Can we just give them a wrong? They're
yeah,
doing too well.
let's
I
give
think
them a
we
wrong.
should.
Let's let Skimmy have some competition.
They were wrong.
Oh,
They were
wrong.
confirmation.
Yeah,
Because look,
production.
on paper it says 50-50,
Ah.
but it might be like 50.1 against 50,
But then I was wrong as well,
49.9.
so it just sucks.
and we don't put the points in. We don't put the points in there. Now,
Okay.
that question I asked before, who is getting the counter pick for Chiefs again? Is it Bio? Answer that
Wow,
for
Mac,
me.
that's
We're about
interesting.
to figure that out. Guess what? Champ Select's ready.
I need to get this on recording to show Twitter. Honestly, people need to know what we are witnessing right now.
Please stop.
It's such a big distraction. Into the draft we go. Yes, Team Bliss on the blue side with the first pick priority. Let's see what they decide to lock in as their objection. Because Max, it's our time to shine.
Yeah, and the bans already from the Chiefs, they are saying, no, we do not want to play against this double range thing that you guys are basically picking every game. They want to have a really standard bot lane 2v2. And going back to pre-game, we talked about win cons. Bliss blowing up bot lane was a really big one, right? So stabilizing that, making sure that the Chiefs can get something where Aladora can find engages. But there we go. The Varus that wasn't banned, Rusty,
Yeah.
Lima's pocket pick, here it is.
Yeah, I mean, Varus going to be picked up. It does mean the Chiefs have pretty much anything that they would like in response. Zeri is the one taken away champion that would have been pretty easily picked, but you've also got the Aphelios very much ready to go right now, right? So usually you'll see an AD carry and a jungler picked here. I would personally like to see just something that kills the Varus and an Aphelios. That's your two picks. That's just based off my bias from watching O's play Aphelios. They all seem to be very good at the pick now, and it seems to fit every team.
You just want some carrier fresh. That's what I'm gaining from that, right? Want that
absolutely,
full
yes.
in-engage potential. Absolutely an old bread and butter combo.
Renekton.
The Heimerdinger and Rakan obviously being denied away is fairly staple one. Kind of interesting to see it's in the first three, but it feels like a warranted ban. And we were talking about this a little bit before the show started, right? The Renekton actually is the highest KDA at the moment, which feels crazy for a champion where you kind of like live or die by the sword in the first 15.
Yeah, absolutely. But Biopanther, just that pillar of stability in the top lane. We know whenever he gets the Renekton, he's going to be winning lanes, he's going to be rocking up to team fights, flash dubbing the right person. And I actually think it's quite a heads-up play from the Chiefs to opt for this early. We know that Daystar is prone to picking stuff like the Yone, melee champions that want to fight.
Yeah.
And basically any melee matchup mid lane versus Renekton is just having a rough time, right? Especially the Yone. We saw it actually in one of their previous matchups. Every fight he goes in just gets Fury stunned. There's really not much he can do. So the Chiefs sort of picking this to perhaps deter Bliss from going towards what they would usually want Daystar to be playing.
You know, the other thing here as well, though, is still that Yasuo champion, not just a Yone, but Renekton, like you're highlighting, actually also does very well into him. So there's plenty of choices there, and the
Oh.
Chiefs will actually go for the Ziggs. The existence of Ziggs implies that a Leona will be picked fourth, so that does give Bliss some options here in their pick ban, and I wonder if that is in any way flexible or if it's just Raze and they have options, because Ziggs into bans, it's not something that would have been banned away.
Yeah, and Ziggs is definitely not a pick when you think of Raze that you're like, yeah, he's going to pick the Ziggs here. So I am wondering, Kisei does have an extremely deep champion pool, just mechanically a very gifted player. So can head towards that. The Morgana ban, Rusty definitely signaling that they want to go for something like the Leona, like something to lock them into the Ziggs CC combo. But already, a very atypical draft from the Chiefs.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because we've been sort of saying that that was the outlying champion when you talk about all the viable picks in the bot lane. That the Ziggs Leona has certainly been creeping up elsewhere in the world. Obviously gives you just so much sieging potential. If we're talking about bot lane prio, then it's certainly right up there. but just your ability to then open up the map with 3 structures falling, huge harass afterwards. And it does bear witness to, are we starting to maybe look at ideas like, you know, Camille Gallo? Do they start to come back into the fold of things? That was an old bread and butter from many years ago with a Ziggs ult on top and a one-shot right there.
Is Thresh actually going to be the second ban hit by the Chiefs? We are targeting the support pool. Benvy's laughing. The 1-17 Thresh player is just like, yeah, I deserve that ban. Get rid of it. It's broken. But this time around, it does feel like, you know, there might be a bit more utility there with the Lantern alone, actually, to make things very easy for the AD carries and carries in general of the Bliss squad. I was just kind of in my head thinking about what you would pick if you were Bliss into the Ziggs and presumably an engage support, knowing that you're going to ban Leona Nautilus and not knowing what the support would be. But you have to assume, with Rakan also gone, that the pool is so thin, you're literally looking at Rel or Annie. It's probably like Annie, I guess, can be an engage support.
Yeah, and it's interesting that the Chiefs
Pike.
I mean, it's Aladoric. I think it is interesting that they are actually locking the Akali here and making sure that they want to save their support for 5, right? Because typically what you see with Ziggs lanes is you don't really play the lane as much as you play the map when you're picking the support. So potentially holding it for a team pick as the LeBlanc
Insta
from Daystar. You talk about explosive picks. You talk about picks that you can carry a game with. This is one of them.
certainly is. Not going to be worried about going for the Yone or the Yasuo this time around. Just says, yep, if you're going to go for the Akali, predictable. Already read it, mate. Know exactly what I want to take into it. And giving it no time for Chiefs to really discuss where they go next with this draft. So the final pick now for Bliss. Support's held to last. And it's going to be the Karma. The mitigation could prove to be invaluable. The movement speed also quite nice there in the bot lane to help out this Varus.
The Karma does just make sense for the comp of Bliss, right? Bit of extra power in that bot lane 2v2 double range matchup, something that Bliss are a big fan of in the first place. The interesting thing about their comp overall, though, when you actually look at it, is their damage is not consistent unless that Varus is on hit. If that Varus is a lethality Varus, they are just about killing one person. Lethality will just do a whole lot of damage, LeBlanc will just do a whole lot of burst, and that's their game plan. And then they've got cooldowns, right? Then they've got timers to wait on. The side of the Chiefs, Ziggs is constant. Renekton in teamfights is constant, right? The Akali does have the ability to assassinate someone, but puts out constant DPS as well. I feel like it's a very interesting choice from Bliss overall as a comp that they went for the LeBlanc fourth when they have the Varus locked in instead of something like an Aphelios, right? Because you'll have LeBlanc bursting, AD carry, consistent damage.
Definitely we'll have to see what build path Lemus goes towards, but the Ziggs Annie, certainly not a bot lane I was expecting to see today, or maybe even this year.
No.
No.
I think definitely a case where the Chiefs have sort of been drafted into a hole where basically every engaged champion that you would be wanting to pick has been taken away.
You consider that the Caitlyn can be used as a support as well. Chiefs have just banned 5 supports themselves, right? The champion pool has become so whittled down that it has kind of relegated them into a undesirable situation where you have a triple AP bot lane, or bot side rather, where you're really hoping it snowballs, because if it doesn't, certainly mitigation is going to be picked up a little bit too easily, and those tanks, those bruises, especially from Bliss, kind of just chilling.
And the problem with Annie as opposed to those other engaged supports is the reliability of the engage and the range at which she can engage, right? Without Flash, Annie support is quite gate-kept in terms of being able to actually get onto that backline besides getting a flank, right? So unlike a Leona, unlike a Rel that can really get onto this backline consistently, Annie's going to have a lot harder time setting up for the Ziggs. So it's going to be much more flank reliant from Kisei, from Biopanther to actually get favorable fights for the Chiefs.
Also definitely means that Vi will be going in by herself a lot in these skirmishes. And last time we casted together, Max, that was the first thing we said loading into a game. Is there is a Vi going in, and it is probably going to go 0-6 and just needs the team behind it to carry. But in this game, Vi is the only physical damage that will be existing in those lanes. So magic resistance can be invaluable. Kill the Vi, build MR, and suddenly this game, like, what does the Akali do when your bot side is a Ziggs Annie and Akali's job is meant to be an assassin? It feels really counterintuitive.
Yeah, definitely some Void Staff sec in this game, and it is going to be the Comet coming out from Lemus, so anticipating a move towards that lethality. Definitely to your point, Rusty, a lot of damage fall off once we transition from that mid game into that late game, right? Once we're hitting those 2-3 items, Biopanther and Babip especially are just going to be incredibly tanky. So if there's not a lead coming from Team Bliss into this, 25-30 minute mark, it's going to be really hard for them to actually close out the game.
What it really screams to me, though, is that we need to put a big laser focus on these first 15 minutes. Bliss have been impeccable when it comes to early game. They've been very strong, very unpredictable, very keen to try and get things going. Chiefs certainly haven't been one to shy away from a brawl in the early game as well, but it's definitely allowed Bliss to have that freedom to do just that. We'll say, though, 4 games up against one another. Chiefs have won 3 of them. It is that forming rivalry. And let's see now, another 3 games potentially of action. See how that scoreline looks like afterwards.
First things first as well here, junglers on the same side of the map can definitely look towards these bot ganks, just given how volatile it's going to be early. Top, meaning that presently will be isolated. You will see lots of health trades between a Renekton and a Gragas. They trade HP to deal damage, basically, in how they operate. So if you put your sights on this bottom lane right now, you would expect that Annie wants to have that stun ready, and then they suddenly have kill threat for the Chiefs gank. But for the side of Team Bliss, it's not about having crowd control. It's about dealing damage. That's how you set up for a gank. It quite simply is just overwhelming damage, could be a kill or summoners.
And realistically, in terms of getting turret plates in this bot lane, the most opportunity you're going to get is towards these early levels, right? As soon as Ziggs gets his base off, having the TP, going towards our Lost Chapter, he's just going to be able to one-shot these waves. So potentially Bliss wanting to stack up as many waves as possible, crashing, getting 1-2 plates early, so they can get this Varus online and transition that into dragons, into dives, just accelerate the game. Because they, like we mentioned before, they do need to stay ahead of the tempo of this game.
Yeah, let's talk about what you mentioned before in Champion Select as well, of the Ziggs as a champion. We might hold the conversation for Liv, who's getting ganked.
Certainly may have to hold that for a second. There is. Look at that. The Renekton stun into a fantastic punch from the Vibe, and it's just too easy. First blood, primed and ready to go.
Yeah, Bebop actually skips all of his camps, basically, that he could possibly skip. Wolves goes to red buff, goes straight towards the top gank, and very successfully finds a kill at 3 minutes in the game. Liv didn't get his ward off at 220, perhaps just wasn't expecting, someone to be coming top lane this early on into the mix. So very nicely done, actually, by Babip and by the Chiefs. If we talk about the importance of physical damage, well, they're in trouble now.
There it is. That's the TP back to lane. The flash matched perfectly there. Why not? He's not going to miss that one, and he's certainly not going to deny what is a kill in retaliation.
Very well played by Wino, holding that flash and that auto Q to get the extended range as Vi uses her Vault Breaker to try to get out of that play. But to your point, Rusty, definitely not something Liv was expecting. Typically when you see this Gragas Renekton matchup, you're kind of like, okay, well, I'm just playing my 1v1 lane for the next 20 minutes. No one disturb me. But realistically, if you look at the lanes, that's the only lane that Babip can gank that has set up, right?
Yep.
We know Liv does want to trade aggressively early to try to get some wave prio, so a nice exploitation of that window there from Babip.
The other option, of course, could be the more obvious path of an Annie lane. If that stuns there, place for him to gank. Babip now going to deploy towards the bottom side of the map, which is why we bring that one up. Back to the Ziggs point that I just quickly want to highlight as well, because you mentioned this, Ziggs doesn't necessarily play the lane, the player, he plays the lane. That usually means you've got 14 minutes of windows here where Ziggs can just take turret plates. And they've increased the value of turret plates, therefore Ziggs' value has gone up as well. Being able to have that W for lethal range, constant passive procs as well to push that one out. You really want to have something that can... Oh, Kisei is just dead. Well... That was unexpected.
He was certainly taking a beating there, getting harassed relentlessly in the mid lane. He's burnt a flash, and Ignite's been used by Daystar. May have just been an unexpected distort burst pattern.
This is something I was actually talking to Calvin about, the coach of Bliss, before the split even started, when I was trying to get an impression for what Daystar was like. I asked him, how good is he? He said, he's very good, and I said, can he beat Kisei? And basically the answer he gave me was that almost every scrim he was beating Kisei in whatever matchup. Now, for those of you who've been watching Oceanic League of Legends for the last couple of years, you will know that Kisei has been at the top, if not the top, of the mid lane talent pool. As we see this solo kill once again.
I mean, the Ignite being there for the LeBlanc probably going to be a factor here. It seems like a very straightforward kill. Electrocute timing, just with an auto attack, cheeky Ignite in there. Very well done by him, but realistically that solo kill is a result of the setup prior, and they are fighting again.
Oh, it just hurts, doesn't it? The Tether goes out there, adding insult to injury, really dissuading Kisei from getting much damage back of his own.
And look at the items as well between these mid laners. Kisei straight into the... going for those Merc treads potentially. He's not having a good
just
time.
Wants to survive, yeah.
Meanwhile, the Lost Chapter purchase, they start flourishing.
Kisei's certainly not a player you typically see go for his defensive options. With the ultimate coming out, Skimmy.
Yeah, he's certainly looking for this one shot in retaliation
one?
himself. He
Wrong
needs
one?
it. Which one is it?
Oh,
he's gonna
no.
do
He
it to
chose
Torrent.
wrong.
Unbelievable. Daystar has just broken his ankles, broken his mental, and he's got a 2-0 lead in mid lane. Meanwhile, Aladoric just sneaks in a cheeky kill bot lane with Ignite. Maybe just the most broken summoner.
It really is. Making both solo kills happen here. As Kisei trying to get some revenge for that play earlier, but just chooses the wrong one. Daystar actually expertly manipulating the clone to make it look like he's walking towards his own turret when realistically he's walking off to the side. So just showing the mechanical caliber of these two players in the mid lane. A very exciting matchup to watch.
The joys of LeBlanc in general, right? The fact that you can do things like that. The fact that you go invisible, so you have to make Kisei choose. I would like to see it from his Fog of War, to be honest, because it's a tough choice to make. And just chooses the one that was going towards the turret, maybe hitting both at the same time. But Daystar had flash that entire time as well, right? Didn't feel like there was lethal damage, knows his limits, gets the kill.
Also as well, making sure he uses the second activation of the distortion after the Akali E lands, so she doesn't get pulled back all the way on top of him. Just showing that he knows the limits of this champion so well, and in terms of a comp that wants to snowball early, having 2 kills on your LeBlanc at this point in the game, certainly something you're happy to see if you're a Bliss fan.
Oh, it is huge, isn't it? We've seen those 1v9 performances take place on LeBlanc before. Get a few items under your belt, you are going to be pressing very aggressively with those distort charges. And certainly nowhere on the map will be safe. An uncharacteristic sort of situation we find ourselves in. It feels like, you know, generally speaking, when we have seen him in the mid lane, not too many solo kills to be found. But Daystar, at the moment, coming into this one, has found the most solo kills. And now we might find ourselves a duo kill in the bot lane. So much CC laid onto Benvi, and he might actually just walk away.
Babbitt might die. Babbitt's dead.
Babbitt in trouble. Lemus flashing forward. Ooh. And he just misses the Chain of Corruptions. That has to be evaded with a flash of its own. Delayed cleanse, but Lemus is still pressing forward. He might find another.
My God, that was close. My God.
Look how low they both are. All 4 members. About 20%.
Bliss bot lane playing that perfectly, baiting Chiefs in with that engage. You think it's just going to be the kill onto Benvi, but he activates the ultimate with the W, getting that crucial healing back, and then Lemus gets the first kill onto Babib, and that gives him the ultimate, forcing the flash out of Raze. So what was initially meant to be a proactive play from Chiefs ends up massively in the favor of Team Bliss.
Yeah, remember, that was a 2v3. That was a fight that they chose to take, that they started, and they just weren't prepared for the immense amount of healing that came onto Benvi when that fight happened. Mid's living its own world right now,
We have an emote war happening in mid lane right now.
It's a true battle.
Oh yeah, trying to get in each other's heads. All I will say is that Daystar dabbed on Kisei when he got that kill before.
That's a top tier emote for Teemo on the Daystar spamming, I won't lie. And such power in this mid lane as well, able to control this one. Our Chiefs are going to be hitting the Drake, however, they will secure it, even though Daystar has that first move.
Yeah, and first move crucially important in this game. We talked earlier about the Ziggs and if he gets Herald, the damage he's able to do to turrets, but when you have a mid lane matchup that's so skewed in your favor, it's very easy to just do this Herald whenever you want, as we're going to see it be picked up right now by Why Not. So denying that away from the Ziggs and taking advantage of a further opportunity to snowball your LeBlanc, snowball your Varus, who are already winning their lanes.
Yeah, very smart decision here actually from the side of Team Bliss to prioritize the Herald for sure. Even though it goes towards the top lane, that now is finally going to be that nullified lane. Yes, you got a gank off early and it was successful, but you know that helps you get a bit more damage, which is why I think it's a selfish gank, and I still like it from Babbitt. But ultimately, it's not going to skew the game state too much. Renekton and Grag are still just going to butt heads in top lane and be fine. But that Herald charge, if it goes into bottom, if they get priority in mid, bring the LeBlanc down and summon the Herald in bottom as well, there could be kills, there could be dives, there could be a lot of action that happens. But the Chiefs are aware of this.
They are certainly aware, Daystar. You're not allowed to face check us. If you try and run away, it's an ult! Make it 2 right on your head. Good luck trying to distort out of that one. You might have won mid lane, but you're definitely not influencing this bot lane. And Why Not was here. Didn't get a chance to use their Heralds. Babbitt with a perfect read.
Read him like a book, Skimmy. Expertly chaining that CC. Daystar literally did not have a single chance to react beyond getting hit by that Vi Q. Annie stun coming out, Ziggs bomb on top, and You know, Zach, you talked about that could have been a really big play for Team Bliss if they had managed to bring the LeBlanc fully down, but finding that pick completely nullifies the play.
It's one of those moments that could be a 2,000 gold swing, right? If it's successful, it could be kills, turret plates, and just gold denied in general from the Chiefs. But they are also aware of their own win conditions here, and they're not going to let that Ziggs fall behind. They're not going to let that Herald get summoned for free. Now going to utilize that Annie being down there. So very nicely done. It was a shutdown as well, and it's a non-teleporting LeBlanc in mid lane. So had to walk the whole way back. Misses out on, loses plates in mid, misses out on farm as well.
I think above all else is that Kisei is feeling pretty happy about how that one works out, right? Because he's able to shorten that CS deficit, able to get a turret plate of his own, get a bit of chance, bit of reprieve on his own to try and make amends in this mid lane for what has been a bit of a rough start for him.
Absolutely. Anytime you can get alone with the wave in the lane is certainly what you're happy with here for the side of Kisei. Going again for the Riftmaker build. Now this is something on Akali that he did in the last series, not favoring that mobility that the Protobelt would give you.
Yeah.
Typically versus LeBlanc, you know, any extra dashes you can get, you're thankful for, but Kisei certainly favoring the extra HP and I guess a bit more sustained damage that Riftmaker provides.
Yeah, last time it was the Riftmaker into the Morello, so it felt almost like a utility hybrid, if you will, right? If you do have that ability to stick around in a fight for such a long time, true damage is going to be through the roof. But as you rightly mentioned there, Max, the mobility is going to take a bit of a hit as a result. Obviously, you are very nimble by definition as an Akali, but any helping hand, given just how quick TB are themselves as well.
Herald does get summoned in mid lane. No real intent to go anywhere past just the Herald charge. They're pushing in mid as well and crashing waves down there. And it feels like Team Bliss at the present moment are happy just scaling up and farming because they are controlling the Chiefs for the most part, right? Keeping them within the confines of their own jungle, not necessarily stopping them from being in the river too much, but the fact that Chiefs are trying to respond second or react means that they get to choose the fights that they want to take.
That being said, I do think Babip is doing quite a good job of making sure he's staying in the bot side jungle on the potential windows that Bliss could look for dives. Because realistically, in terms of plays next on the map, there's nothing really for at least a minute, minute and a half. So Babip making sure he's just clearing his bot side jungle as that mid wave crashes. If Daystar or Why Not were to look towards that bot lane, he will be there. Just trying to slow this game down as they're trending towards the mid lane.
Maybe just hanging out, really. I mean, also, to your point, there's no cleanse on the bottom lane of the Chiefs, so they are very much liable to dying if a Varus ult hits or a Wukong kicks it off. They can follow through with an abundance of crowd control, and they also do have those item spikes, right? You press tab and you see a Ghost Blade done. For that Varus, you have to respect it. And so the Chiefs are respecting it through their jungler, so they can continue to farm down there.
Speaking of those differences in summoners, obviously 3 teleports versus the singular one available for Team Bliss. What do we make of that, right? Do you feel like this is going to be one of those types of games where it's going to be all around the ability to out-macro your team through better resets or just better deployments?
I'd say the biggest advantage that TP gives, particularly for Kisei, is flanking ability. I would say in terms of side laning, as hold that thought.
Hold that indeed, yeah, we're all in for this one, aren't we? A flash from Tibbers afterwards. And thankfully for Raze, he's the one to get the killing blow. Babip has been protecting this bot lane like a concerned parent.
Teleport.
But it is working out tenfold there. He's one of those teleports that we literally just mentioned moments ago. Why Not forced to completely run away? Doesn't get a chance to use that ultimate. Zoned away by an angry bear more so than anything. And the second dragon spawning, and Chiefs are going to start things up here.
TP's up for Raze.
Lived in the area as well. They've put their bodies straight on the line here, so they are looking for this. You can see sitting in the base is Raze. Teleport's going to come through.
TP number 2, as you say.
Babip
Here we
pushed
go.
out.
Looking for the full fight. Aladoric has run himself. No more mana left. Explosive cast onto 3. Bio jumps across the wall and tries to force them to come at him. Dominus, the HP buffer wasn't big enough. The big red bomb, that's there. The explosive auto attack empowered enough to take out Daystar, and Liv just holding on for dear life in the backline there. Kisei takes him down, more gold in his pockets that he so sorely needs. Lemus across the wall. Yeah, he can chuck out some arrows, but he does want to back up his team. His team are being pushed away. A flash from Benvi. A chance across the wall for Lemus to strike. And strike, he does so ever so well. And that dragon is just watching it the entire time.
What is going on? That is the only thing I can say after that team fight. It's on multiple fronts happening there. We see Kisei on towards the top side, trying to find some kills, making use of that Akali ultimate, but meanwhile, Why Not getting so much damage? And crucially, Lemus stays alive. So as we see this initial fight here, I want to highlight the cask from Lived. Absolutely huge, finding 3 members, giving Biopanther his first death of this entire Chiefs Bliss matchup. He hasn't died before this point, but as we see, the engage comes out, and look at this cask. Throne separates the backline. They're able to get the initial pick onto Biopanther, but meanwhile, Kisei coming from above.
Yeah, and the thing with Kisei and Babip, though, is they were pushed out of the fight. They were pushed out of the pit. They'll get in here and put in some solid work towards the end. Right, a couple of Qs missed and E missed from Kisei. It's not perfect, but they'll get those kills. But meanwhile, achieving as more of a team, Bliss were able to just put down their DPS as 5. Yes, some of them die, but at the end of the day, they still kind of entertain the Chiefs. They bring the Chiefs around. They even bring them to the wall.
Here we go again.
For Lemus as we're fighting the Herald.
Yeah, from one side of the map to the other, we just continue from a replay to the action. One more time, and still, once again, it is Team Bliss coming out. So they've just picked up a dragon. They've successfully put Chiefs backwards again. And steadily starting to build a bit of a gold lead here now, Max.
Going toe-to-toe with the Chiefs in these early game team fights is absolutely something you want to see. You know, securing that dragon, securing the Herald is really going to allow them to blow up this game. And I think that if you look at the items right now, you are very happy with where your Varus is sitting, your LeBlanc as well. You know, copping 2 deaths a bit more than you'd like. And particularly Wynot is someone who's been quietly achieving this game. In that team fight was a really big performer, now sitting on the Hex Drinker as well. You highlighted how valuable Magic Resist would be, because realistically, if he's diving the backline, that's the only type of damage he's taking. So definitely feeling really good heading into these team fights.
That's the most important piece of information here, though, right? Who is hitting who in a fight? There's no reason for a Renekton or a Vi to be hitting the Wukong or the Gragas when the fights break out. Those two get to stack magic resistance for free. And everyone else is just going to be dealing magic damage to them. So that Hex Drinker becomes a more of Malmortius. You know, that Merc Tread start for the Gragas becomes a full another magic resistance item after this. And at that point, they feel unkillable pretty much outright. They just run at the Ziggs. And that's it.
Speaking of, Raze has now just picked up that Leandries and the Riftmaker complete for Kisei, as we see on our screen right now. Now, continuing to lane into Daystar. Maps have certainly flipped across.
Herald is available for Wynot, and that's really key. When you're playing versus Ziggs, champion who can just wave clear mid permanently, it really enables you to actually crack open that mid turret and take the next step with your vision, right? Mid turret is sitting quite low at the moment if we do get a look at it, which we do now. So realistically, they probably want to save this one and try to use this to break the tier 2, but members grouped around this mid lane. We see Daystar converging.
I think the best play is probably just chuck out a Varus ultimate, see if you can get kills first. The Herald kind of forces the situation, but you can be more opportunistic with your team composition overall. Top lane is going to be fighting again on our screens. Liv should be okay. But the Herald is going to get summoned. I like we just check in with them. Yep, still top laners anyway.
Yep, still fighting.
It is the first turret, actually, so it's not a bad idea to still just get that one, right? Get immediate extra gold into the pockets, but couldn't find their pick, so they'll just take the objective.
This has certainly been one of the strengths of Team Bliss, is to get those gold leads in the early motions. But I think one of the critiques we laid out, at least during the regular round robin, was that they would have these moments of complete mishap. Around about this time, Baron would spawn, they'd lose their head, they would take a fight, they would lose it. The game would completely switch on a dime. Not at the moment, though. They are pushing full steam ahead, nearly taking down a second there.
And they're doing a good job of pulling their members who have an advantage or pushing a side lane to translate that to leads in other lanes, right? We saw with that mid lane play, Daystar shoves the top wave, has priority into Kisei, moves down as they call Babip.
They certainly have caught Babip. The Cyclone 1 is there. The jump across the wall denied. Lemus with the arrow piercing in its nature. Oh my
lived.
god, lived with the Boomba. He just gets it done. You can stun me, Annie, but no one's here to back you up.
The turret is 1 HP.
The buyer's not interested.
It's not a safe space. They can kill the turret and dive.
Okay, here we go. Renekton 1v4. Have you seen this narrative play on through? He's slicing and dicing and looking for the kill. Lemus, where are you going? Across the wall. He survived by a hair's breadth.
That's a raid boss if ever I've seen one.
That is an angry Biopanther.
They take the turret around him, they kill the support next to him, but they don't mess with the crocodile as Biopanther forces a flash from Lemus and just shreds their health. But still, the fact that Bliss survived there means they get out with a sizable gold advantage.
And Babip perhaps being a bit greedy here, knowing that their vision line isn't set up all this way. And Aladoric sort of dies for the sins of his jungler here as the perfect combo with that body slam cask, knocking Aladoric back. And you know, although this turret does go down, this croc does not.
No, not at all. You could see it took a second for Bliss to realize that is actually a one-hittable turret.
Look at the healing.
4-man Gore Drinker, 4-man Q, I believe, as well, and was well and truly not going down in that little skirmish. If he got kills there, though, that could be pretty dangerous. There's shutdowns on the line here for Bliss. Interesting,
too, is the Edge of Night second for Lemus on this Varus here. So perhaps wanting to avoid any, flash tibbers.
Well, it's Vi and Annie are the two main engage sources for the team. Both of them can't touch the Varus if he has that available. The difficulty is, one, it gives less lethality or damage than any kind of Mythic purchase would do, and two, Ziggs exists.
Yeah.
So you're going to have a hard time keeping that unless you play at your max range.
Absolutely is Benvi. He's certainly been the target for Chiefs this game. Popped one too many Vi ultimates to the face.
Did we mention it's a Relic Shield, Annie? Those are definitely not the standard that you would see for a lot of Annie players. They'd rather go for the Spell Thief. But on this patch as well, having that extra HP regen as a buff to the items, knowing that you're against a Varus Karma lane, it makes a lot of sense.
I think we
to have that health regen.
Vaguely heard Kenny mention it during the patch rundown, saying that, these enchanters can certainly still be played. They're probably just going to pick up the Relic Shield, be, obviously less mana dependent, going to definitely run in these fights, or the control for these lanes before a big objective, but more HP, more opportunity to try and strike and shine, and that'll certainly make things a little bit exciting in this one.
And we're talking about items, right? That is the Maw of Malmortiis, that is the Spirit Visage. So before Void Staffs come online, it's going to be actually really hard for either the Gragas or the Wukong to die. As we consistently see, Bliss having the first move on these waves, right? They are able to shove mid. Ziggs really forced in a position where he's just catching waves, and then Bliss can sort of bring their pressure, drag it towards his top side of the map, and look for this outer turret, but
Benvi completely isolated, flashes across the wall inside the river, just so much damage taken out there by Babbitt, but the retaliation from Why Not is absurd. Look at that with R2 of the Cyclone, finds a double kill.
Case in point, right? That's exactly what we're going to see happen often. You look for the angle, the Vi goes in, set it in champ select, Vi's going to die for that. That's always going to happen. But the flip side is that Why Not just walks through everyone, just shreds them with the Cyclone, and they're looking for the turn.
Oh, that's Daystar trying to take out Raze, but a statue charge across the wall, nearly dying to Ignite. One more tick would have done it. They're both down to 100 HP. The Baron has to be forgotten about. But those AP threats, they're gone. Still locked in the jungle. Now we've got our sights set on this mid lane. And it's all about Kiste. What can he do with his Riftmaker fully charged up? Flash is a little bit too late. And Biopanther pays the crime. He dies for it. And somehow, these two little stragglers raises one out.
Lemus keeping Kiste at range that entire fight. Kiste wanted to get onto him so badly. You could see him running towards him the entire fight. But Why Not, like you said, Rusty, as soon as that fight sets out, if we go all the way back to when Babbitt jumps in, jumping onto that backline, diving the Ziggs and the Annie, as here it is again, even though this initial gauge comes out into Benvi, where's the damage, right? There is that Ziggs ult coming out, Benvi does go down, but realistically, Why Not is just unmatched in this backline. And as has been the case with Bliss multiple times this game, they just move as a unit throughout these fights so concisely that it's really hard to take advantage of any split members.
And you're looking at the Edge of Night now on this Varus, right? He's just trying to keep that up, make sure no one can engage onto him. Ray's just constantly dealt with. And Biopanther's used all of his abilities at the forefront of that, dealing with Why Not. And Liv just plays zone defense. Just constantly keeps this assassin away. Remember, he has stacked magic resistance, and so is Why Not. Kiste can't kill either of these guys. He has to look for the Varus. But he just couldn't get there. He's just got a guy hitting him with his belly every single time it's available. It's impossible. Was Jace banned?
I don't believe so. I was quite curious to see if we would get a Jace in the mid lane for Daystar, especially with a Varus running the lethality. The poke would have been a little bit too much to handle, especially with a hard engage comp from Chiefs, but the snap lock-in of this LeBlanc has been quite exciting so far. 3K up in this game, only 25 minutes in. And it is TB constantly forcing Chiefs to face check that Baron. Are we on it? You don't quite know. Is Salt and Battery in? Daystar across the wall. And Babbitt might just die. Same play, same place, and the same outcome. 2 kills found. Bio at least takes down Daystar in the process. A 1 for 2. Still going against them.
They're stuck. They're just stuck.
I mean, Raze is locked in the mid lane. He's not here to back them up right now, so Bio has to turn around and say 1v3. I've got the Gore Drinker. I want to try and live for as long as I can. Lemus just hits him with an arrow to the knee.
Once again, Babip, it's so hard for anyone to actually follow up on his engage, right? Finding that initial pick. But ultimately, Lemus is untouched, and, you know, Lethality Varus, if he's behind the curve, it looks really bad, but ahead of the curve like he is now, as we see this fight once again, finding the ultimate to Daystar, but he gets back into the pit. Aladoric tries to flash and chain the Tibbs on top of him, so Daystar gets one shot, but the distortion comes out too quickly. Ultimately, he does go down, but meanwhile, who's hitting Lemus, right? Kisei barely procs the Edge of Night, doesn't even do any damage to him, and like you said, it's just a slow chase from here on out.
Yeah, it just continues to go. BioPanther realizes he really has no way out at this point. Karma's going to press W, so the only choice is to kill the Karma, try and use the Ziggs ultimate to make sure that it does happen. He ends up basically getting it by himself, but Varus with those Blight stacks makes short work of the health of a Renekton. Edge of Night has to hit the Q here if you want a shot.
Here we go, Edge of Night popped, and well, that's what happens. When you anger the Chiefs, 4 members collapse upon you. You could be the most fed member in the game, as we saw from that total gold graph, but it doesn't matter when you're in that floor pop. Goes Tibbers one more time. Liv just finds the kill onto Annie.
Who's going to kill Liv?
And now Babip is forced to run away. Their engage options are limited. And Liv is a bit of a juggernaut.
It's a bit of a full tank Gragas that is just one-hitting people right now because he just cycles cooldown after cooldown. And they get kill after kill. That's with their AD carry dead. 1,000 gold goes into the pockets of Chiefs. That's really important because they've delayed their Void Staffs as well.
Yep, absolutely.
Third item, not Void Staff for any of them so far.
No, yeah, Raze opting to go towards that needlessly large rod instead of building a Void Staff. Pretty interesting itemizing choice there, but as you mentioned, like, no one can actually kill this Gragas at this stage, right? As we watch this fight again, Liam is perhaps feeling a bit overconfident, not really acknowledging that there is a lack of vision in the jungle. And the Edge of Night's great, but when there's so many spells chained before it, it doesn't actually provide any value.
Yeah, follow up here for the rest of the fight, pretty straightforward. Aladoric, very squishy with this Annie support whenever the shield's not available. Does get the Tibbers down onto Daystar, but Daystar doesn't really have to worry about Tibbers. BioPanther's teleporting to it. So it stops chasing, it eventually goes down, and the rest of the team fight was pretty straightforward by Bliss. If they have their AD carry alive and Chiefs don't play that well at the start, it's probably 10 times worse.
Right. Having delayed that Void Staff, Raze does actually complete the Rabadons outright, just sitting on the rub beforehand. 8 stacks in the Darksteel as well, so he's still packing a fair bit of damage. And in we go again, right by this spot, in towards the Baron. Look at the amount of burst just bombed on their heads. Why not? Falls on down. Despite all the magic resistance, he will find his first F in this game. There it is with the Shuriken flip back in. And Kisei on Akali, he finds those ways in.
And we didn't see the start of it, Skimmy, but that is a huge flip for the Chiefs. The game was just getting worse and worse, but suddenly they find those kills, potentially looking towards the Baron, but the low health bars are going to dissuade them. We're going to have to take a look at how that fight starts, because Daystar getting caught up immediately, right? We know that this Vialt is realistically the only thing that's able to lock him down into a chain CC combo. Why not going down as well is big in terms of the shutdown gold, right? Funneling these golds into the Chief carries. And here we go again. It's almost deja vu.
He doesn't go back to it. He goes back to it. He goes back to it. Someone call the police. He's just murdered himself. That's really rough. I mean, well done by the Chiefs to follow through. The one thing I will say about the Chiefs squad is they do not hesitate to follow their Violts. They make sure they're there to try and support their captain when he finds those engages. But, I mean, Daystar gave him a freebie.
Yeah, that was illegal. There's no other way to put it. That was absolutely illegal. Trying to find some damage onto Vi, but ends up going down. And, you know, deaths with this comp can really stall the game out, right? You're playing against the Ziggs. It's not easy to close the game out under the best of circumstances.
It's even gold now.
Yeah.
It's not as simple as closing out the game anymore for so many reasons, but they've given them how many shutdowns now, right?
Certainly given them a fair few windows back into this game. Even game state and still a very similar overall gold graph. It was Lemus before, it still remains Lemus, but Raze has always been just hot on his heels. Been farming up an absolute storm. And he's putting in a world of pain as well. He's got himself the flash as well as the stopwatch. Near full items at this point, Max. I mean, The Ziggs experiment, despite not getting the Heralds, it's finding value.
Yeah, it's very hard to kill him. I mean, the best way to deal with Ziggs at this point in the game is to try to poke him, you know, with the LeBlanc, with the Varus. But as we've seen before, anytime LeBlanc wants to go in and poke, there's so many abilities that can catch her out with that, the Vi-ult, with the Annie CC. And with no stopwatch or Banshee's Veil, one mistake can cost them his life.
We're looking at a Baron buff though, threatening the Soul, trying to pull the Chiefs to them because ultimately the answer isn't play through the minion waves and give the Ziggs the wave clear that he needs. The answer is bring the Chiefs to you, and Biopanther has been brought to the very far side of the map to try and draw them while Baron's on the cards.
Yeah, look at that. Actually drew 2 members down, Daystar as well as Why Not. And that's a straight invitation. Chiefs, we're going for Baron.
Bliss do know about this. They are going to walk over now, but it's already 6k. Can they go for the steal?
Bio's going to be late. He's not going to be here. It's going to be a 4v5. In he comes now with a TP. The Baron held at 3.4k. The fight starts, and that's a route on towards Bio. That's a slam dunk onto Why Not. Babbitt trying to do whatever he can to remove Lift. The blast code gets him out for free. I don't believe it. That was their kill target.
They're still going to look for the rest of these plays, right? They have to bring Biopanther to the fold. The Chiefs try and make a play with a Vi ultimate onto the Gragas, who is a tank, just to realistically keep his team alive. Because Raze and Aladoric were caught, and they resolved that that was the best outcome of a bad situation. But they also were the ones that went for that play. They really wanted to bring the pressure away from the Drake itself, but the Soul still goes to Team Bliss.
Yeah, they went for the play, and now the Soul, Biopanther just TPing into the middle of 4. And sure, he's tanky, but realistically not that tanky enough. As we get another look, I think we've been baited by the replay.
There we go.
Here we go. So look at Lived. Look how much time he buys on the backline. The cast, Raze is so scared that he has to flash immediately. And meanwhile, Bio is just getting that taken down by everything Team Bliss have. Lived, crucially that blast cone, like you mentioned, Skimmy, gets him out. But that's big. I mean, that's Soul going to the side of Team Bliss.
Yeah, that was definitely your opportunity to try and open up a fight, get a kill, get a Baron, and say that, yes, we are even gold, but now it's our time to take full command of this game. You don't win it out there, Team Bliss pick up that Dragon. Even more invaluable now, given that you're already fairly tanky from the resistances. You couple that with the Chemtech Soul Rusty. Very annoying.
And yeah, the one thing that I will say as well is, as far as playbooks are concerned, we've spoken about the composition of the Chiefs and how Bliss can build magic resistances. They are hitting the Baron. 6k HP.
There's a Ziggs bomb that can be chained with the Vi Smite. Keep that in mind.
Yeah, there certainly is a lot of on-demand burst damage as the bomb's gone out. Toys, they've tried to steal it. Babbitt just dies instantly. Burst out of oblivion by Daystar's LeBlanc. We're at that point of the game now, level 16. The damage is a little bit incurable. And Why Not finds himself another shutdown. This Wukong is out of control.
Yeah, 2 Baron and 2 kills to go as well. Bliss once again doing such a good job of peeling back. As soon as Kisei dives in, as soon as Babbitt dive in, they're picked off, they're isolated, and they're taken down. Just seeming like a completely different team to the team that lost to Chiefs earlier in the week. Everyone across the board playing well, as Baron makes it so much easier to push against the Ziggs as they're looking for an inhib turret.
Just trying to push them back, trying to stop them from getting inside the base. Ziggs using those satchel charges just to push the minions away, but when all's said and done, Varus ultimate used just to see if they can find something, but the inhibitor falls. Bliss now, however, are half HP, so they have to respect. It probably does mean that the push won't continue from here. But the base is exposed, the gold lead has ballooned back out in their favor. Chiefs bring it back to 1,000 gold, but just like that, it's gone again.
Yeah, it certainly is the power of the Baron. Trying to back the replay one more time, you can see agonizingly close to trying to force that flip. But a bit too comfortable was Why Not on that smite button.
Yeah, and Lived also doing a really nice job of making sure the Chiefs members can't really get close to the pit. It's only Babbitt going in for the steal. And this is what I wanted to highlight, right? Kisei, first of all, he has to come from the front, which is not where you want to be approaching as an Akali. You really want to be finding those angles into those carries. But Why Not doing such a good job of instantly peeling back, instantly using the Cyclone to make sure that Kisei is locked up in that Shroud. And really dealing well with, you know, Kisei on Akali is typically something that you fear, but Bliss certainly doing a good job of nullifying it to the best of their ability in this game.
I mean, more about what is done now for the Varus as well. They understand the playbook, and Mikhail's Crucible is there. So if they try and make a flash Tibbers play, it's gone. Renekton can't flash stun someone, it gets countered. And as long as Bliss are on the same screen, It's so difficult to find those angles. Varus ult used.
It certainly is. That's level 18 for Limus, the highest level in the game. An ultimate with a very short cooldown. You just chuck those out, see what happens. You find a kill, voila. You are sieging this base with as much as you have with this Baron buff.
Liv doesn't care whatsoever. Look at him. He is unstoppable. As they're going to move towards their second inhibitor, using this pressure that they've created from that previous inhib. Take a second. Now the question is whether they will continue with the push, instead opting to head towards that nice third inhib.
Yeah, the crazy thing as well with Bliss's comp is they want to be sieging. That is one of the biggest strengths that their composition has, but they're so strong with Baron and with the Soul that they don't need to. They just brute force their way through. Because you want to see LeBlanc sitting in a flank just hitting QR on carries. You want to see Varus throwing arrows. Chiefs don't even have the luxury of trying to defend. They just have to concede. As finally, Max, we do have a Void Star for the Ziggs.
Yeah, at 36 minutes.
Still has been able to deal some damage, you would say, to the carries. At this point, still 0 resistances purchased by the LeBlanc or the Karma, realistically. The Mikhails is there now, though. But the fact that Limus has it, Void Star's mandatory. It's Wukong.
Yeah, why not? Completely unfazed, just jumps onto Babbitt's head and says, here you go, death number 9. It was always going to be a rough affair for Babbitt playing this fight. But now not even able to step outside his base's wall.
I'm with you on that, Rusty. I did not think that was a kill, but why not? Clearly knowing the limits of his champion very well. A lot of armor shred coming through onto that Vi, who realistically isn't that tanky, opting for the Divine Sundera Black Cleaver build. And being a member down opens up an opportunity to go for the end.
Well, looking like we're primed and ready to go to try and end that game. Mega Inferno Bomb used on the wave coming in from the south side. His Biopumper, he slices and dices in, looks to try and find his target with the flash stun. And they're buying as much time as they can. I mean, look at the health bars of Team Bliss so far. They're getting lower and lower by the second. Enough so that they are going to have to show some restraint and disengage away. 30 seconds on the Elder now.
Yeah, actually it does push them back. Really well done by Chiefs, all things considered in this 4v5 situation. They've earned themselves a full reset and to be able to redeploy back towards the Elder Dragon. It means that Bliss have no time to set up for that top tower or break any third inhibitors. And I think that's kind of what Bliss were thinking in their minds. They've got the Elder coming up soon. If we put all of our efforts towards sieging top, we're going to lose control that we currently have near the Elder Dragon, which we can disengage to. But they lost so much HP in that little skirmish that they actually do still have to reset. And it feels like there is a clear avenue for the Chiefs to get there. Easier said than done, though.
It absolutely is. Walking into this LeBlanc, walking into this Varus, just eating so much poke. Realistically, Biopanther the only one in the game without having flash. As Babbitt's going to find the poke onto Wynot, but he's got GA. He's incredibly tanky.
Yeah, and Biopanther also has to entertain the idea of those flanking threats. 3 members went towards him, but then Wynot jumps into the back line and looks to lock in place. Everybody! The Cyclone is just doing a little bit too much. Daystar comes in and just destroys Aladoric. Never really stood a chance. And I was curious to see how Team Bliss would set up. Would they dance around it, knowing that these super minions are going to push inside your base? Chiefs in a bit of a checkmate position. They get the kill. They get it done.
Yeah, and this is going to mean Elder skimming. It's going to mean Baron as well. You talk about closing out a game. This is the cleanest way you can do it. It's just so hard, like we mentioned, for Bliss, for Chiefs to even walk in. Babbitt, though, he's going to look for a steal skimming, but I just don't think it's possible.
Just not possible whatsoever. Pops his head in, Daystar shows phase 2 and says, you don't want to do that, Chief. And it's not happening. And they may just do now, Rusty, a cross map to get every buff in the game. They've already got the soul point too.
It's the Bliss special, isn't it? Tutorial ending is the only way that Bliss end these games. They don't want to do anything too crazy. They will go for the Elder, they'll go for the Baron buff. They're most likely just going to break mid inhibitor and top after, depending on a steal here. As a teleport comes through, it is a tank, so they will not care to deal with it. But it's a tank with an Elder. And Kisei's gone.
Yeah, Kisei gone, dying to that tank. Gragas a little bit too strong, doesn't matter the itemization. Flex pick for a reason. Babbitt across the wall. He's tried to be the hero. 50-50 once again. But why not too clean with it? And this should now be that final nail in the coffin. There's a helping hand there from the Gragas. Get back to base.
Get out of here.
And get yourself into draft number 2, because this one is a done deal.
It's a valiant effort, but all game Team Bliss just coming out on top in every fight, every skirmish. Walking down with Baron in hand, Soul in hand, Elder in hand. Gonna hand Chiefs the first loss of this series.
That they most certainly are. If nothing more, we could potentially have 3 games on the cards for a second time tonight. But it all goes the way of Bliss to open up their accounts here.
Very successfully through a lot of places where when you look at how Team Bliss have been playing against the Chiefs, particularly on their Monday best of, it wasn't like this at all. They were winning lanes. The ganks were being countered really nicely. I feel like, you know, you're looking at the Daystar effect in their only win that they had was like a 9-0 Yone, but this one felt like it was definitely more around Lemus and the fact that he was a fed carry. And then, I mean, let's be perfectly honest, above all else, a little bit of a comp gap made things so difficult for the Chiefs to actually play this one out.
And yeah, completely different from what we had seen with Chiefs, right? Their bot lane not providing them much agency in draft. Ziggs Annie, as the king is back.
The king is
What do
back.
you think of that game, Mac?
Look, my prediction is on. I gave Chiefs a game, so I kind of want Chiefs to win the next one, and then Bliss to close it out in the third. But that was stellar. That means we've got a series on our hands. That means that Chiefs either not feeling super good, or why not just feeling
Like your head right now.
A little bit tilted, mate.
I've had to close my eye because we're rubbing.
Keep your
Thank
head
you.
up, king. Your crown is slipping.
Thank you. Either way, look, yeah, little breakdown, insane mechanics coming through.
Look at this.
Why not bloody Jungle Kingdom? Babip going for the Vi, and it did not pay off at all. Just continuously getting caught. And a really high kill game again. So a lot of action in the Rift for game number 1 of series number 2 of the day. As well as, what was it, 3 Barons in the end? I think it was like 3 Barons.
There's a lot of objectives.
At least 2.
At least 2,
Right.
I remember, yeah.
But one thing I want to highlight, and I know I talked a bit about this during the game, is how Bliss actually regroup in fights, right?
Yep.
Because we saw so many fights that were super messy, but basically every time after a fight like that happens, they manage to get back to their carries and make sure that they're still alive, still able to do damage. Like here, once again, you know, kill onto Babip, immediately, bang, they're moving up onto Kisse, making sure Lemus is fine. And this, when you're playing a comp with so much poke, if you can consistently deny engages, the game is so hard to play against, right? We saw multiple fights, Kisse trying to get in, and Lived is just body blocking him the entire time.
Yeah, and look, why not, of course, doing limit testing for years all pays off. Managing to know exactly what fights he can take and what he shouldn't. Having a look at Lemas, there is still 44.4k damage. And you'd say that's still a chunk of the team's damage, but then you've got Why Not doing work, Daystar doing work, Lived as well. We said in the pregame that he had to be one of the players that was going missing the other day to lift up, and he certainly did as well. And also Benvi definitely helping out throughout the game. Literally everyone on Kanga firing. I mean, on Bliss. Bliss?
Bliss.
Bless me. Sorry, I had a bit of
Bless you.
Achoo. I said Kanga because they used to be Kanga, but they're not anymore. So.
Yes. But they did do well this game, Mac. I will give you that. Everyone
what I was
kind of
trying to say.
stepped up to the plate. Benvi, to be fair, was still going for the classic 0-5 support route. His KDA has not improved from this game, but
Yeah.
the performance of the team has improved, and he is included in that list.
Now, you guys, you're improving all the time with your content game. Let's check it out. It's from the fans' time. Let's see what you've sent in, who you think it's going to be. Sam Ham, 834, PGG, Chiefs, Direwolves, and then Team Bliss. So,
It's a singular Chief that
Yeah.
finishes second.
oh yeah, Chief.
The whole team of the Chiefs does not, but Chief does. Who's the
Okay.
Chief of the
I'm
Chiefs?
curious to see if this changes much after tonight, because obviously these were predictions going into today, but then after these best of threes conclude, whether or not people's opinion will shift that much.
Well, of course, Direwolves already breaking this one
Yeah.
because they got that dub. So maybe
Bliss are now 1-up.
maybe Sam Ham exposed, not watching game 1 of the day, or making the submission way earlier on in the evening. I think we have a couple more to have a look at as well. Thank you, Sam Ham 834 for that one. Stickman Sand, Daystar goes Supernova while receiving the coveted DreamHack land buff. Hashtag Bliss up. Okay.
Found the Bliss employee. Found him.
Yeah, it's in his name. Probably should have removed
Found
that
him.
one. Huh?
Bias.
Yep.
Bias.
Where's the code Stickman Sand 10 in the Bliss
I
shop
would-
for the
To be fair, like, for what it's worth, I love the color pink. Wouldn't be. I'm literally wearing it actually now that I mentioned it. Wouldn't be against seeing a pink stage. Actually, yeah, where the.
Yeah, pink would look good on
I
stage.
can't believe I didn't tip Bliss. Actually, I'm wearing the
No
colors.
way.
That's my bad.
Fake.
That's my bad.
Missed opportunities, but you're not going to miss that second game, which is coming up just after the break. Ladies and gents, don't go too far. Game 2 is going to be just as good as the first. I promise. Make sure you're here.
Bliss out of turret, but Bendy.
Completely isolated, flashes across the wall inside the river, just so much damage taken out there by Babbitt, but the retaliation from Why Not is absurd. Look at that with R2 of the Cyclone, finds a double kill.
Tasting point.
Welcome to the halftime show with Magic Mac, who's not doing any magic today. I got banned. I got banned from the magic because it made Max uncomfortable.
It did.
He also danced for us before, which means you guys at home, make sure you show us your best dances, not only on Twitter, but just right now. Mac Jam in the chat, Cat Jam, Rat Jam. What else jams are there?
I don't know, exclamation mark DreamHack.
Newer ones now. There's like,
That's one of them.
Exclamation DreamHack, dance.
That's where you can dance.
Yeah, we can dance
right?
at DreamHack.
Right, dance.
Dance if you wanna, and leave me behind because I'm such a nuisance. Now look, let's start shifting this conversation back towards Game 2 of the series. Bliss up by 1 game, and if they win this one, that's a 2-0, which no one predicted.
Yeah, true. Yeah, no one predicted that. We only got you with a 2-1, right? So that'd be a surprise. But I also think draft from game number 1 can be easily adjusted, and then I think Chiefs will be able to attack the game in a more neutral battleground, right, a more equal footing.
Yeah.
Because to me, I was thinking about draft during the break as well, and to me it was still one of the bigger issues in this game is how easy it was for Why Not to be able to play this Wukong and get around the map, and it felt like so many different things could be changed, but the number one thing is the Ziggs third into bans, where you just like let them counter you, right? Just remove the combo completely. I feel like you pick Ziggs with Leona. That's like the whole point, isn't it? That's a duo. So like a lot of little things, but that to me is the number one thing. If you're going to play the Ziggs, probably give Alidoric the combo so that you can play it.
Okay, well maybe that'll happen. Either way, side select, it's Bliss's turn to pick those sides, which is going to happen after we recap the draft because I got a slow brain today.
I was trying to keep talking until it came up, but it just didn't go up.
I do. Look, but here we go, having a recap of the draft. As you mentioned, of course, you wanted something that complements the Ziggs if they are going to pick that Ziggs again. Anything that was banned that you think might slip through going into game 2 here, Maxi boy?
I don't know. I think if I'm Chiefs, I would be willing to consider, I'm not going to say fully commit, but consider opting into letting Bliss have a range lane. I think that they actually were quite willing to exploit that in their previous series where you just chucked like a Nautilus for Alidoric or something and really punish that lane. I do not like the Ziggs at all from Raze. I'm just going to say it. I think he looks way better on a hyper carry, and I think that Chiefs thematically just perform better when Raze is on a hyper carry and Alidoric can play something that's a bit more heavy engaged than that.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like when you see Alidoric play best, it's Rakan, it's maybe a bit of Norton there. I don't know. I think you guys are throwing around the word Pike for a little bit. So can Alidoric play Pike? I'm sure he can, but like, does he?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Hey, let it happen. Make it happen.
Plays hook champions,
Chiefs.
mate. He just plays hook champions.
Yep.
Very good at them. And Rakan. But Rakan's going to get banned from him from now on.
He'll be perma, surely.
Deserved that ban.
Yeah, Leona also banned. Yeah, I just looked at the bans. Of course, there was a big couple of targeted bans coming
Every
through for
support in
sure.
the game was just taken away.
Yeah, all of Ali's, prime picks. That means that, it leaves open possibilities for the rest of the lanes, but still, could you shift Kisei onto something a little bit different as well? Because obviously he can pop the hell off. He did a couple of times in that game as the Akali, but would you want him on something else? Like Silas was open. That could have worked pretty well because there's a couple of big ults there from Bliss.
My concern is if, to your point, they let something like the Heimerdinger or the Ashe through, obviously the Silas feels really rough because you saw what he tried to do. He's trying to get into the action, permanently hit with slows or just hard CC, right? Big stuns in your face. So if that were the case, maybe you just try to say, I'll play from a distance.
Yeah.
We know that he can play stuff like the Azir, for example. Maybe just try and take a step back and say, I can try and dictate the pace of this fight like a war general in a way. I don't have to necessarily go in and make this massive Emperor divide, look at the flank, wow, I'm faker kind of thing. You can definitely just sort of stand and deliver, have the stability of a hyperscaling AD carry for Raze as well, and just outdamage them in that fashion. So maybe not draft yourself into the hole with the Ziggs like you said, where you sort of said, oh, we somehow have like triple AP. Why not just get free pass to be a menace?
Well, we have two couches here on the LCO set. Two different sides, so to speak, which is similar to the Rift.
Shotgun red side.
Bliss picking red side. No, Bliss picking blue side.
Oh, really?
I shotgun red side. I'm going for Chiefs.
We won blue side last time.
Well, there you
Blue
go.
side just
They
won.
must have heard you shotgun it, huh?
Go for the Chiefs.
Yeah, that's how it works.
I'm here
By
for
the
the
way,
Chiefs to win.
Bliss going blue side, so trying to pick priority. Is that going to Limas?
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
I'd imagine so, yeah. I would imagine so.
Okay, trying to get the same damn thing. Let's see if the Dare fan vote's the same. Let's see where you're putting those Twitch points, huh? Was it even before? I missed it.
Didn't see, actually.
I want to say like 52-48. I could be wrong.
52-48.
I feel like it was very, very even.
Okay. 60-40 to Bliss.
Okay.
So,
wow. Okay.
Not bad.
Bliss have got some fans in that chat.
There you go.
We've got some big spenders at the very least.
Yeah. Either way, the button's up there.
This is points
Press
based.
it. Get them points and put them on.
Is that meant to be a pedal?
Yeah, you know, when you're
Like applying.
sewing and like on the old sewing
yeah,
machines.
You got the loom.
Yeah.
Because I reckon us three are like the target
pump
audience
it?
that's so...
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah, we're all doing that.
I'd make
Yep.
all my own clothes. Sure.
Would you?
Yep. No, I do. Yep.
This is a very good work, then.
Yep.
All I'll say to that, Mac, is stop the
Following
cap.
the template. Following the template. I don't make caps, mate. I just make
Oh,
felt.
okay, yeah, bro. Okay.
Knee slapper, but my slaps are so hard I had to protect my knee with the pillow. That was all I was trying to go for there. Yeah, keep Nah safe. That's usually Kitty's job. She'll just go, no, get away from him. He's just way too aggressive right now. You're going to get hurt. Look, either way, moving into game 2, looking for that blue side. That means Chiefs are going to get that counter pick. Who are they saving that for this time?
Well, last game it was an Annie 5th pick.
Yeah.
Which I don't think was the intent. It was an Akali 4th pick, and I still think that you give... Like, you can give support comp counter, but I still think you consider that it goes to Kisei. Now you know that on blue side, he has got things like the Akali to play. You have to put a lot more emphasis on having a winning mid matchup.
Now, Twitch chat, I like you because you're putting those Twitch points on for the Dare fan vote, but I need you to tell me, have a guess. What do you think Rusty's looking at on his laptop? I've always wondered because I can't see the screen from here, and I'm going to let him tell you because that's way more important than Champ Select, which is ready. You can talk about champs if you want, but look,
I'm not going to be on camera.
Let the people know.
It's stats.
It's stats, miss.
Are you playing games
It's
in
not
the
beach,
classroom?
not racing.
I'm on Blood Gulch. Miss.
Here we go, though. So, Team Bliss, having taken the initial victory in this best of 3, sitting on a comfortable match point, deciding to run it back with their own decision now to go for the blue side. Couple of changes here so far in the pick and ban, but if we get a Heimerdinger, then everything is the same. So, Team Bliss, what will they open up their account with? Will it be as simple as just saying Davaris worked last game, let's do it again?
Yep.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, why not, right? I always think
right.
that if you found success on something in the past, you may as well run it back. He's done it again. I didn't even realize.
He can't keep getting away with it.
No, you got me twice, so now it's just in my head rent-free. I can't stop saying why not just during Bliss games.
All right, well, let's see then what Chiefs decide to do. What is the switcheroo for them? They went for a single Vi engage, which we always thought was going to be a bit of a rough affair. It certainly was, but it did work and needed extra resources with it, right?
That's what I'm talking about.
So here's the Gragas, and there's the Aphelios, and Raze be sitting a little bit more pretty.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're expecting to see. When you see the Varus pick, you're expecting to see something, like I said, in the first champion selector can build, sustain, build the Bloodthirst or something of the likes. But we're rocketing through the rest of this pick ban because the Gragas was picked with it, can be flexible, can go to multiple roles, most likely to the hands of Biopanther. But the response here is the Annie for the side of Bliss that we've seen from Benvi before.
Is this what 12 hours of draft prep looks like? They've seen every different simulation that Chiefs can lock in. Slam the Vi, slam the Annie. Back to you, Chief. What are you thinking?
Yeah, this is scenario 47 in our draft notebook. Let me just quickly run through that.
Just cross that one off.
But I mean, Aphelios Thresh is a really exciting combo and one that was meta last year that is just so good if you're a good bot lane, which we know Raze and Eldoric are, right? Opens up so many opportunities, particularly for jungle ganks. With that Gravitum gun coming out from the Aphelios into a Threshold, into a Lantern, opens up so much playmaking around this bot lane and really something that the Chiefs lacked in that last game.
The Karma ban here as well, right? So they're still not certain that the Annie's going to be going dedicated to the support role. You would imagine that Bliss are capable of flexing every champion ever, all at the same time. Just the way that they've been drafting and playing before. So they just want to be safe, get rid of that Karma lane. Just give a bit more agency to the Thresh as well when it comes to it in that matchup. But the Scion actually going to go with it this time. Liv does love those tanks. So taking those away. As Ornn really left.
Yeah. I mean, the Scion was an absolute menace when it was played, right? And you can see this is Chiefs saying we want to be the ones going forward. We don't want to really fall victim to the CC chain. Already 3 heavy hitters in that regard, add a 4th into the mix. And you feel like it's Team Bliss to take out the victory in this series. A Lee Sin going to come out. They're really testing Babip's champion pool by forcing him to really dig deep.
Yeah, I mean, Lee Sin, definitely a champion that needs setup. And when you look at those 3 champions that they've picked earlier in the draft, it's setup galore. Right, realistically can play around any of these lanes, whichever lane the Gragas does end up going into. And a nice change of pace from Vi, you know, Vi, a very one-dimensional champion, goes in, does her job, probably dies, definitely dies if it was last game. But Lee Sin offering a lot more mobility once you have actually committed, potentially able to navigate his way out of those fights. So, as you mentioned, Rusty, the Ornn is going to be the pick for Liv, is opting towards a tank, potentially versus tank matchup. We do know Bio has some carries in his repertoire, but we will see where that Gragas ends up going.
I was very curious to see what the last pick would be here for Bliss, right? Given the opportunity for counter for the Chiefs, You now know the Taliyah matchup. You saw it earlier in the day, literally against Lee Sin Gragas as a duo. Chaz on Taliyah went absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
Had like the 8-0 game for himself. And so Taliyah as well is also slightly longer range, really good pushing power, and tends to be neutral in a lot of matchups. My other thought was maybe an Ahri, just to see where they choose to go though. You know, point of preference for Daystar is Taliyah. Now the Chiefs are going to go for the Sylas.
This feels like comfort to me more than anything. I think if you look at Team Bliss ults, you do have Varus ultimate, you do have Ornn ultimate available. Outside of that, your matchup in Taliyah isn't the greatest 1v1. Very much a neutral matchup. And also another dash champion that Taliyah is quite fine playing into in terms of those mid-game skirmishes. So
Yeah.
I think Kisei, you know, he's shown before that in high-pressure games he can perform on this Sylas, and perhaps that's what he has opted into in this game.
Yeah, has really good side lane threat as well as time progresses, and for me it's about the 2v2. I still think that Why Not and Dace have a really strong 2v2 between a Vi and a Taliyah. Good damage, good setup, good follow-up as well. If the flick hits, the Vi Q connects with Flash, whatever it is, the other CC will follow. A little bit harder to execute for the Chiefs side, for sure. A bit more skill expression. However, they can be much more creative in how they would play this out. But I think with push belonging to the Bliss's team, they kind of have the first decision on how or where they want to take those battles.
I can't help but think that it almost feels in a way that on blue side, Daystars managed to find the counter pick as if they were on red side, right? With that Taliyah coming in and saying, oh, guys, what do we actually have? Let's run down this clock and figure out something really quickly. Is the Gragas going mid? Probably not. What do I have that I want to actually play into this one? Maybe the Sylas. Maybe that is my best option, right? And just look to try and play for the team fights. Laning phase is going to be a little bit rough. Kind of accept that and say that we can just outplay them when it comes to those team fights with all these insane ultimates that they can utilize. So it's a rough affair. Let's see if Chiefs' fate is any different to how the Taliyah fared earlier on in the night.
And if you are a Chiefs fan, you are definitely happy to see Thresh for Eldoric,
Oh, yeah.
right? Especially into Benvi on the Annie, especially into Lemus on the Varus. Both very immobile champions. Sure, we have the Cleanse coming out, but offers a whole new avenue of playmaking as Chiefs already. They were known for their level 1s throughout the season.
30 seconds.
There is a ward in that bush though, so already they're going to be spotted. Kisei jumps in there, and Team Bliss now get to kind of choose. Do they want to be aggressive? Do they want to look for something in response to this? They know if Kisei's in that bush, the rest of the Chiefs are waiting in the wings. Ornn's on the way down, so just keep this in mind. It's going to be a slow burner.
Uh-oh, the pincer on bot right. Not to be the case there. You worried for a second if Benvi and Lemus decide to stick around and see who shows up, but
Minions has spawned.
They're going
full
to,
victim to it.
I mean, even potentially throwing a hook there was Ray's calling to Alidoric, come over and get him because he's laughing, opening himself up to this one. But I think the Chiefs kind of made the correct decision there by moving quick. Because if they took any longer, they didn't know their own vision, but if they took any longer, there would have been Why Not and Live just ready to collapse. Yeah. And it could have been easy for Bliss to choose the fight they wanted there and collapse and pick someone off.
Jungle pathing going to be incredibly important to keep an eye on as we see both bot lanes realistically want to be fighting for Prior on these early waves, neither having to leash. Why Not starting toward this bot side, so potentially looking for that 3 camp into bot, which we have seen. The big time is realistically these level 2, level 3 spikes for the bot lane of Chiefs, where Flash Lantern can come through, and realistically, even if flashes are committed, if you don't react quick enough, it could be a kill.
And it could be. Let's see what Aladora can achieve and how they can look to try and control this wave to get that magical level 2. There is the Flay. There is Benvi landing a stun to Raze to make sure even if that Flay goes through, that Raze can't actually do any damage during that trading pattern.
Interesting trades as well between this matchup because the Thresh can be considered quite dangerous, especially with the Flay auto attack start. What Annie can do is just go for the E, and Thresh actually doesn't get to trade into that. You Flay, you can't auto attack, but they choose to do damage to Raze because they have a Hail of Blades Varus who can get 3 auto attacks off on a stun target extremely quickly and should guarantee a positive trade. But just keep in mind that red weapon there for Raze helps him sustain through anyway.
What I will say, though, is for the second game in a row now, Daystar's opted to not take teleport. He's actually got Ghost Flash with the first strike for the Taliyah. Doesn't really care about any sort of necessity to cheat tempo or get back to lane or look to, I suppose, fix his lane state.
He's certainly good enough that he knows when he can use his windows without the teleport, right? And to your point, doesn't really need that to cheat the tempo of the game. As we can already see, stacking up a massive wave here. We'll have to check in towards this bot side because Team Bliss definitely love playing off big bot waves, playing off big mid waves. Babip here to answer though if anything does go down.
Yeah, the question was Babip looking for a gank or a counter, because they kind of have to assume the Wukong's in the area. But the second Talia got priority and dipped into bot side vision, he was no longer ganking that lane anymore. He was only countering. The game plan becomes the scuttle crab. Babip, no choice. He's just going to have to disengage this one.
Yeah, both hitting their skill shots at the same time. Ooh. Another rogue hook goes out and barely misses Benvi. Certainly game on to try and find those fights. The Lantern and Shield are going to do whatever they can to try and mitigate some of the bursts coming through from the Varus. Meanwhile, fighting in the mid lane, Why Not is here. Ooh. And that's a flash to respect the shove back. Could have been the first blood.
And really nice early gameplay and pathing from Why Not, right? Staying around this bot side, completes a full clear into the Scuttle Crab, making sure his bot lane can get that crash. That's the all-important thing. As soon as that wave goes in, he can sort of, you know, take a breath and head towards his top lane. But that's really the window of risk that he did mitigate by staying around that bot side, staying around that crab. As I say that.
Here we go. I'm literally watching Carrier in the LCO right now. There's the Gravitum. There's the first blood. And I want to watch back that replay because that looks so well orchestrated.
Yeah, Lemus, I don't know if he based. I assume he didn't and just stayed around, right? So I do want to see what happened there. But like I said, right, as soon as that flash comes out from Aladoric, even if Lemus flashes, he's probably still dead in that play, right? So it's just a question of, you know, being in the right place at the right time for Babip, and that combo of the Thresh, Lantern, Flash, Flay. As here we take a look at it again.
And, you know, the funny thing about this is, first and foremost, he's recalling. They must just see him on vision. He chooses to stay for this wave, and ultimately, Babip was hovering in the area. It's very well done by Aladoric, and the funny thing about this is no hooks thrown, no Gravitum Q is activated. They flash forwards on 2 of them to secure that kill. And Lemus doesn't cleanse or flash at all because he knows he's dead, because there was the threat of crowd control if he bothered cleansing one of them. So it's this really interesting situation where he doesn't actually have to use a summoner spell, and they use 2 to kill him, but he still dies, which is very bad for the team.
That is a pretty nuts kill participation percentage there from Daystar, 92%. It is one game, but that being said, really shows his tendency to get involved in plays across the map on this champion.
Maybe another reason there, Max, why Kissei felt the need to go for the Silas, right? I just need to take those ultimates. I need to match him. I'm not going to go the Rise, or I don't want to go like a Twisted Fate. Obviously, so far gone in the meta right now, but need to make sure I can keep tabs of where Daystar is.
As on bottom here, no flashes on both. Need to respect, especially with Annie being able to flash engage himself.
Ooh, hook is on. Into the Gravitum. 2-man stun, though. That's not too bad. Gonna make sure that Chiefs don't find any more in that trade, as Benvi definitely is copping a beating here. No potions left.
Feeling very confident, baiting there with his body language, like the Vi's in that bush, but cops a hook to the face and a nice trade back from Chiefs. Ultimately won't mean too much though.
I want that honey fruit actually, so keep your eyes on if Chiefs choose to collapse. If Benvi goes for this honey fruit, he could actually die. I'm not aware of where he is though, so just missing out on vision of that one. Why Not's on his way back?
If only that blast cone there was used 5 seconds prior. Could have been a very scary situation there for Benvi. Both junglers still hovering in the area, both mid laners. Whenever there's a chance for these waves to crash, or waves to spawn and come back to mid lane rather, they're looking, seeing what's happening.
I mean, if he gets cancelled there's a world that they actually go for the kill and force the flash out of Why Not. Really interesting dance through the first 7 minutes of this game, right? The first kill that's happened was just a recall and a bit of greed from Lemus. But beyond that, these teams are just trying to farm their way through, and jungle is hunting, looking for angles, seeing what they can find.
Daystar?
What are you doing here, Daystar?
If not 6.
You're zoning them away. You will act as that human ward, and you will guarantee safe passage for the rest of your team to pick this one up for free. For Liv, though, Vipemper says, I can play the Gragas just as well as you can.
Not something you expect to see in the Gragas versus Ornn matchup. It's a solo kill, but perhaps got a bit bored of playing the tank matchups, decided to go for some combat here.
Yeah, insta cleanse, Chain of Corruption, and Aladoric goes for the play.
He cancelled him.
That's pretty meaty. Now Raze with the red and white in close proximity will do a ton of damage. And then Babip does have that ultimate. He does have that flash. He does have the ability to try and kill Secure, but Why Not is here. And I think he's kind of grateful he actually missed that Sonic Wave.
Aladoric playing that so nicely. If he doesn't play that Barris Q, he is dead for sure. Lemus once again being really explosive off this level 6 mark with the Varus. Basically every time he gets ultimate, he wants to throw it. But once again, really nice mechanics from Aladoric to avoid death there.
Yeah, I mean, it might have been luck. Might have been just lucky in timing, but it doesn't matter. Well, look what happens in top lane. Just to see how Lived dies, because in this tank matchup, that's pretty much impossible to have happen. All right. Well, I mean, he just gets done in, doesn't he? Well done by Biopanther. What do you really say when you watch top laners fire? That's nice.
Get him!
Nice.
Get him!
That was a really good cast from Biopanther to get the solo kill onto Liv, but Liv was also fighting with fire perpetually with his health bar.
It's almost one of those matchups where you feel immortal, and then you're like 20% HP, and you're like, oh wait, I just remembered I can die. And by that point, it's too late. But yeah, as you mentioned, the cast pixel perfect over that Bellows Breath right after the unstoppability ends, so he is able to pick up that kill. But as we check back in with bot lane, this is really just the way the draft goes, right? You do have that mid prio and bot prio coming out from Team Bliss early, allows them to get towards these objectives, having already picked up the Dragon and moving towards this Herald.
Nice dodge away there from Kisei. Once again, not going to fall victim to getting knocked back into the shove.
Bio's here.
There's already a 2k HP though, and it is very close to smite range. Babip nearby, but not here fast
Goes
enough.
wide. Explosive cast just barely missed. Is the Herald still being looked at? As the fight breaks out,
Babip.
Pull of the Forge God is used. Babip is gone. Daystar secures it. And Biopanther's forced to try and go for a fadeaway barrel. Successful it is. As Kisei flashes across the wall. And Aladoric is left inside the pit to die.
Yeah, very nicely done here by Bliss in regards to their collapse, right? You said Biopanther was here. He was there really fast. There's now a 2-0 Gragas to be sure. And the Silas does get out with his life, but has to flash. The major components here is that Kisei goes on Why Not, uses the ultimate onto him, tries to get him away from the Herald, but the smite timing was just there in time. And then Why Not uses his ult himself and just gets into the mix. Meanwhile, Daystar free hit him.
Yeah, and keep in mind, Babip uses his Resonating Strike over basically the entire Talia E, almost one-shotting himself. That Lee Sin is completely useless in that fight. And as you mentioned, just not enough damage to take down the Vi this early in the game. The Smite comes through as well, so manages to pick up the Herald on top of that fight. Once again, clean early game skirmishing from the side of Bliss.
It was a 1k lead just before that fight for the side of Chiefs. Now TB are going to bring that one ever so close, actually going to find themselves in a position to take the lead in this second game here.
Herald to be summoned bot lane as well, so they're going to have multiple plates down this lane. Keep in mind, we just saw Ray's recall, so no one going to be here to defend this one. Babip makes his way down, but that's already 2 plates and potentially the 3rd. Benvi sitting in fog of war.
Yep, just protecting, not spotted. River so far does belong to them.
I can't help but feel like, and especially now that we're looking at the total gold, Daystar is just so valuable with this champion. The Talias that we've seen today has been a Gragas, has been, you know, a Lee Sin. Now it's a Silas and a Thresh. Can't lantern people out to safety, you know, like there is just this hidden utility, and we're only really talking about the Talia E with that. There's no mobility there either without a Gale Force from an Aphelios who's rushed Bloodthirster for the Varus lane. There's so many ways to actually find successful flicks as well. If Varus ultimate kicks it off, Vi ultimate locks them down. Like, I just think this Talia pick is so dangerous, and the Chiefs really need to respect Daystar in this second game.
Yeah, and he's sort of had a free reign with the mid lane as well, right? Being able to shove in whenever he wants and move to whatever side lane. Even the threat of him hovering, as opposed to him actually committing to a dive, has been enough to secure Bliss leads in the side lane. So definitely putting on an all-star performance from a player who has performed all split long.
He certainly has. He's had his moments. But when it came to crunch time, that's all that matters. And now he is the focus, and that is the flash, and that is the lantern away, and that is a play we'll really forget in our heartbeat as my analyst around me looked at the skies and wondered what on earth
No, Babip went for a montage, and it was a really cool idea, and then Daystar pressed flash, and it was just kind of a summoner spell wasted instead of a summoner spell burn.
I like how he got mad that that flash happened and just started to kick him away afterwards.
Yeah,
He's like,
get
no,
out of here.
take the kick. That would look so cool as heck.
Good play. But it doesn't really mean that Aladoric is safe. He is still stuck between a rock and a hard place. Down goes the box, but it won't stop anybody from Team Bliss. They are feeling so confident with the way this game is playing out so far, and on track now to find their second dragon.
And that's one of the dangers of Thresh, right? You are so fragile. If you go in and you miss that initial engage and you're in the middle of the enemy team, you don't have the tankiness of someone like a Leona, like a Nautilus. And this is just going to mean it's going to be the dragon going over towards Bliss. Liv doing a good job of bodyguarding the entrance.
Doesn't sound the horn just yet. Silas is instead. Chiefs want to fight.
Yeah, it's going to be a one-man ult onto Daystar, who's so far
Nice
separated
W.
from the rest of the team. Out comes the real old ult, and it knocks up two. There's the Moonlight Vigil. Ray's doing whatever he can for the most part. Fairly untouched, but the weapon setup not ideal if these members are this far away. Look how low they are, but no avenue for Chiefs to push forward and kill confirm.
Yeah, play's done. I'm not even sure Kisse wanted to hit the chain lash on that E2 because there would have been just him by himself. Gragas already used the body slam to close the distance to try and slow them down. Drake goes the way of Bliss. They'll get the pick onto Babip as well, and overall it does feel like they are in the driver's seat in this game. So much of this, to me, feels like it just comes down to junglers and the confidence that the teams are making around them. Raze didn't really want to group up, ends up getting into the fold. Nicely buffered W here, like you mentioned, Max, from Ornn to make sure that Gragas doesn't pull him in, and then they just turn and burn on Babip. They find their angle. Chiefs too far forwards.
Yeah, the engage does feel a bit disconnected, right? You're ulting with the stolen Ornn ultimate onto the Talia, who's across the wall. No one really in range, and then Babip just getting CC'd 100-0. So once again, Bliss just seeming a bit more cohesive. They get the dragon, they back off.
The thing for me, right, and I say this with a lot of compositions, but in Oceania as well, the Chiefs' composition, you probably would call it pit comp. Like, they can team fight, but their identity is like a Thresh Lee Sin. Silas can hit one person. So other than like a purple weapon or a Gragas cast, they kind of are just a pit composition that can disrupt in team fights with everything else. Team Bliss have a pit composition, but their ease of execution is just better, right? Like, it's so easy for a Vi to press R, Varus to follow through, Talia to flick that target. Like, they can lock that person down. So the fact that Chiefs have kind of had this handshake pit composition means it comes down to execution as mid laners are fighting. But the execution for Bliss is a bit easier to do.
Execution has been proving fairly successful so far. Still within touching distance are the Chiefs, but Bliss finding themselves in a very comfortable spot, as I said before. Trying to bridge that gold lead into something far more meaningful. They're waiting to try and find that very first tower in this game. They put some significant damage on the map.
Observers are top mains or something today. Want to check in with tanks. We haven't watched top at all this series. Now they're tanks. We're up there all the time.
Time to punch on.
And this is nice from Chiefs, recognizing that they have no way to fight the Herald in a 5v5 situation, so instead committing resources down towards the bot lane to get some gold back. But realistically, this game is quite hard to play now because you have your Silas who you want to put in the side lane. He can really just get nullified by Talia, right? Talia very happy to just clear the waves, not having to push up on her own. And then in the 4v4, you have this lethality Varus. Sure, Aphelios has lifesteal, but basically anytime Varus wants, he's going to be able to get first move on the wave. So now with the Herald in tow as well, looking towards Bliss to move this pressure around the map and break these outer turrets.
The thing that stands out to me, though, and you've been seeing this now, right, is Raze has the Bloodthirster done. Raze has the ability to sustain through all that harass pretty much indefinitely. And so while they have priority, they still have to deal with the fact that this Aphelios will get to 2 or 3 items in good stead. The gold is equal, and Raze can solo carry these team fights with the rest of the team just playing defense, and that's what Gragas and Lee Sin and Thresh all excel at doing. So the reality is, you know, we talk about Bliss being a pit composition, but it's not that simple.
Well, here is that pick you really mentioned there, Rusty. Has Wynot managed to get himself out of harm's way? He certainly has not, even with the helping hand there of a cheeky blast going across the wall. Maybe it's going to go into twofold here with a second kill found. Benvi flashing away, baiting him in with a chain of corruption. Ornok does connect. Oh, he splashed into it. It's a 2-man knock-up, and then what on earth was that interaction there with the Ornn? Is he going in? Is he going out? Well, he's here now. And inside the river, Lemus finds a double kill. Daystar still hunting for more, but that may be all she wrote.
A confusing skirmish. I've really, like, just watched it happen, all just exploded at once. So it has to be Daystar putting that damage. Lemus has been quietly achieving as well. And we're really seeing the resurgence of Bliss with this Varus pick. because constantly finding solid DPS to come across, and it starts with Why Not dying. Now he does manage to get to a blast cone and actually get over the wall and create enough distance for Daystar to be in the play and have a lantern used to get them out to safety, right? So they start to get a little bit collapsed upon. Juke predicted by Kisse when they find this engage, but you feel like it dissipates here, right? Like they're just meant to disengage, but they still go for Benvi. And then suddenly a Talia wall comes through. I have no idea how this interaction makes any sense with Liv. But he gets over the wall somehow, so that's good for him, because that's where he wants to be, even though there's a wall and he's... I don't know, man.
Dude, I lost myself for a second there when that interaction happened.
He got
shot on.
Thresh hooked through the wall while he was Eing, right?
He was charging and then got hooked and then the wall went down. Yeah, it was just...
Okay, so even if the E hit, he would have broke the wall at least,
it was
right?
scuffed.
So that's something.
Here we go. Dragon is getting started up by the Chiefs, though. Keep in mind the Ornn ultimate just coming back off cooldown. Same with the Tibbers.
Kisse is going to take away that Ornn ult for himself as well. We're gearing up for a big fight here around that third Dragon of the game. 2 so far for Team Bliss. Held in suspension at 40% is this Dragon. Kisse just waiting out of the shadows. Out goes the hook. In goes the charge. There are the Call of the Forge Gods. Everybody getting knocked up. And who survives? That's the question. Ray's still alive. He's life leeched like you would not believe, but the charge brittle proc.
Oh, Liv
and
is
Liv
crazy.
has just done it for his team. Yes, he won't find a kill, but those assists, they did it all.
Unkillable, the AoE stacking, the big Ornn ultimate through the middle doesn't find Raze, and you think he's going to get out. But as soon as that happens, the Weaver's Wall comes on through. The Varus piercing arrow. As we see this once again, fight starts out with the hook onto Benvi. It looks good, but there's an immediate counterattack. The Annie ult comes out. The Ornn as well, going on the offensive.
And the Thresh hook signals the go button for everyone, right? The Ornn ult comes through, Liv then goes and finds his own. And it's a battle that feels like it's fought on 2 fronts, with just desperately trying to kill Why Not, followed by Liv, standing in front of 4 of them. And this W that he's about to hit is just money. Locks them all in place with that Talia wall. So nicely done from Daystar, like you highlighted, Max. But what a little montage moment for a tank to be able to find an angle like that.
Oh, and straight back into the action. Babish is gone. His 4th death in this game.
This could be
Baron.
Baron.
Allotoric, he's going to find that death as well. And Baron on spawn, and a Baron that Team Bliss will very easily take.
Just a random 2 deaths in the jungle there off a reset is going to mean that Team Bliss can head towards this Baron, and it was already a good team fight. Now you compound that with Baron at 20 minutes, no less.
Yeah, this feels like it's no longer going to be just a Baron. It's Baron with an 8,000 gold lead, 3 Drakes in hand, 21 minutes in. Outer turret still available to be taken. Standing gold still exists on the map. And I mean, Bliss are now looking at a Drake in 3 minutes to confirm Soul and a 10,000 gold lead before that happens.
Red team's turret has been destroyed.
And with Chiefs comp,
Wow.
and with Chiefs comp, Skimmy, it's so hard to actually find consistent engage when you're this far behind, right? Realistically, what are you looking at? You're looking at an Insect, perhaps, from Lee Sin, a Gragas flash body slam into cast combo. Thresh himself doesn't really offer too much in terms of being able to just signal go, 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 unless he lands a hook, right? Which when you're playing against a Varus Talia, if you're ever in range to do that, you're probably going to be in range to take a fair bit of damage as well. So we talked about Varus wanting to siege Talia in a very similar position, very happy when people are running into her. Going to have to see how Chiefs manage to stem the bleeding here.
Going to start in the mid lane by holding strong as best they can. Waves are being prepped primarily by Lived in the bot lane here. As the rest of the team hover mid lane, maybe a rare chance for Chiefs to try and strike, but they're the ones getting dived upon. Bio, a tank, as a Gragas. He's able to hold on to his ultimate. There is the Insect, there is the target, there is the Annie Tibbers, and Benvi survives! I don't believe it! Kisse flashes in to get the kill, and just gets locked in CC hell.
And that's without the top lane. Liv just pushing bottom as well. The base is going to be completely in tatters with how strong Bliss are feeling, and suddenly the Chiefs, it felt like they wanted that pick, they wanted that moment, and they just didn't have the damage to actually follow that through.
No follow-up, and Silas dead for 15 more seconds means that Flash is going to be burned from Lemus, but it's looking like a free inhibitor. Bot wave is prepped after Skimmy. They can just head down, but they want more.
They want more. They might look to try and end the game if they can find more. They'll find that first inhibitor. Will they turn their sights now towards the bot lane with the next wave coming on through? Or is their job already been done? They feel pretty content with this. Baron recall time is back to base.
No need, right? Just recall, send Liv to top, whenever he wants to recall, that is. Send Liv to top, he can threaten the inner turret up there while the rest of the team gets to establish themselves around the Drake Soul. It's going to be up in a minute 30. Feels like a pretty free redeploy here for the side of Bliss. And Chiefs, you already mentioned this a little bit as well, Max, but they're very difficult composition to play from behind. Doesn't get any easier at any point. There's no scaling breakpoint where they feel better about it. Silas, when behind, has to build ability haste items, but doesn't get damage, right? Goes for the Zonias. It's not going to help him one-hit someone. It's a really dire game state for the Chiefs.
One upgrades coming through for the side of Team Bliss as well. Turning bad to worse. Varus sitting on 3 items there. Mana Moon close to being completed. And Zonya's for Daystar as well. Even if the initial engage does land, he's always going to have that stasis. And look, on the other side of the map, Liv, just a brick wall. No one's pushing into him.
Why are you teleporting in? This is their desperate play.
This is it. This really will be it. Down 10k. Can they fight their way out? They've managed to get members in the area first. Is it enough though? They've gone for the combo. They've gone for the isolation. They are struggling to kill a support Annie, who quietly is just picking up a double kill. Make it far, far more, because everybody is crumbling
Just
around
flash
them.
the wall. He wants to end the game right now.
That is certainly the case. It is Raze and Kiste left to fend for themselves. Kiste with a hijack on ultimate, knocking up 3. Raze is just going to get knocked up and can't play the game. Dead in the water, and I don't believe it. An ace and a 25-minute smack. And Team Bliss, they will get their perfect 2-0. They will get their revenge. And between Monday and Wednesday, different results across the board.
Bliss come out swinging. If there's one thing we can take from tonight, it's that nothing is certain in the LCO. Both series having opposite outcomes to how they ended on Monday. And with finals, with playoffs on the line, with more of these matches to expect, what a turnaround from Team Bliss.
You know what is crazy to me? You just mentioned this as well. Monday to Wednesday, different results in every single game. Our top 4, as a result of this being a 2-0, is so up in the air.
Yep.
It's impossible to predict. Every team seems to have clear strengths, but every team seems to have clear weaknesses. And now we get to watch all 4 of these teams, now they're seeded into playoffs, go toe-to-toe and attack each other to either fix where they're weak or get stronger where they're strong and just beat their opponents down. I think that's a very interesting playoffs to continue to watch from here on out.
Insane scenes coming through there. And a 2-0, which no one predicted. At least I got my prediction right. Bliss up, baby! And there you go. So, Bliss won, Direwolves won. That means we're going to be seeing Direwolves go up against Chiefs, and we're going to see Pentanet and Bliss as the first couple of games of the playoffs. Insane scenes coming through, though, and Bliss looking like they're hitting another gear going into playoffs. The more they play, the better they get. That just seems to be the trend with Bliss this whole damn split, and Chiefs just couldn't find an answer. There were moments through this series where, look, Bio looked huge. There were a couple of individuals, like, mechanically looking fine, but macro-wise, it was like Bliss just knew what they were doing. Their calls were on point, and their rotations as a team were just spectacular.
You're not wrong.
Yeah.
That sums it up very nicely, Mac. That makes a lot of sense. And I mean, as well, though, like, we talk about the moments that Chiefs had. Talk about Biopanther being strong at points as well, and he certainly was. I don't think Biopanther had by any means a bad series. I think we have to talk about the elephant in the room, which was that Kisse was getting solo killed multiple times, and he is the star of the show for the Chiefs. So their star was not there today, and it did look like a completely different roster came onto Summoner's Rift.
Yeah, stars just didn't align. Aladoric got back on a hook champ. That didn't seem to be the answer. Raze as well, look, did well in lane, but unfortunately things just started to go south at points like this. And yeah, Daystar said, look, Chaz made Talia mid viable as hell. I'm going to make it look viable as hell as well. Weaver's walls just cracking them open. And again, need a shout out to Liv, who put on his, pants of old. This is like classic old lived, OPL school lived, just coming back, shaking off the rust and looking like a top tier, top laner right now, which is only because, like, the other day and a few other games this split, we've noticed he hasn't quite been, as potent as he used to be. But this game, both these games in this series, he was there and he was putting the big W on the board.
And Rusty, you mentioned this earlier about, you know, the Bio Panther lived sort of dynamic. If you took nameplates off this series, I would genuinely have thought that lived was Bio Panther in terms of his map movements, particularly in this Ornn game. Just grouping with the team so often, he had so many good Ornn ultimates when you're not really expecting him to be there. And typically, Biopanther's the one to be there in those engages, to be there first.
True.
But lived really stepping up to the plate when he needed to.
This whole series, just way shorter than I expected after how good Game 1 was. Game 2 managed just to go off the cliff, it seems. You know, 25 minutes, not too bad. But I dare say, look, why not? Definitely showed Babip how to play Vi as well. You know, things just working out for him, his rotations as well, his gank setups. And you're looking at the damage as well. Daystar, with every game he plays, he's just proving that he is one of the mid laners to be taken seriously.
It's certainly, as the boys here have already mentioned, it might just be the secret pick. If you're going to be drafting all this mobility, then if you have the Talia under wraps, it's just finding so much value, just free real estate really for the damage to go out. And I mean, I suppose a worrying sign on the flip side is that, you know, your tank Gragas is the top damage for the Chiefs, which is certainly nothing that you'd ever like to see. But overall, I mean, it's just such a comprehensive team performance. What we saw was before Daystar goes 0-5, Bliss lose. Daystar goes like 8-0, they win. But today it was a case of everybody all firing across all cylinders. And that makes it really exciting because once again, it just puts it all up in the air and you give us another week, another time for these teams to then go up against each other again. You're thinking another best of 3, thinking, So these were the top 4 coming into tonight, right? PGG, Chiefs, Dials, and so on. Is it just going to be flipped upside down and that's what we're going to be looking at next week? It's just still so uncertain.
But look, retribution for both series today, and a man who said he didn't play well in that first series, but definitely got that revenge was Benvi. Let's have a quick chat with him. Benvi, mate, how does that one taste?
Tastes fantastic, Mac. I mean, gameplay speaks for itself.
Perfect. Now, you spoke about it. Hey, I'm trying to conduct an interview here.
Sorry, sir.
Yeah, thank you. So how do you feel about your performance that series? Because obviously, you know, playing as Aldoric, someone who's been basically the GOATs up for a while, do you feel like you're challenging him there?
Yeah, of course. I mean, just, yeah, watch the games. Much better since our last series. Yeah, that's all I gotta say, I guess.
Now, look, with that win, with that very convincing win as well, 2-0 over the Chiefs today, that means you will now be playing Pentanet in that first game of the playoffs as well. How's that one go? Would you have preferred to play Direwolves? Did you watch that first series today just to see the form of the other teams as well?
Yeah, I did watch the games. I'm not sure who we prefer. I think it's hard because you don't know much about Pentanet, but definitely like... Okay, I got fans going around. But yeah, definitely don't know. I think we are fine versing both, but yeah, I mean, PGG is unlucky, I guess.
Ben Rakan. Huh? Was that the secret? Was that the secret to the win today?
Apparently.
According to Levis, it was.
Now, speaking of fans, I know you've got a lot in Twitch chat. I know you personally have a very big fan in Twitch chat. What would you say to them? What's your message? Do you think Bliss are going to take it all the way?
I mean, I'm going to try my best. I think definitely it's nice having fans in Twitch chat. I think new players, it can be kind of hard to like prove yourself or show yourself, especially to just like older people in the scene. It can be hard to come up, but yeah, I mean, just going to try our best, and I think we're proving ourselves quite well.
Now, what did you feed Daystar today? Because he was on another level. Also, Why Not similarly was just, you know, in that first game, man was popping off. Was he just like channeling his inner monkey? What did you say to him?
I mean, Daystar had his zinger box today, so he was feeling good. He likes those. Otherwise, like, I mean, he just seemed calm, normal, happy guy.
Happy guy indeed. And look, keep the vibes good because you're going to need him in playoffs. And the Bliss stonks keep on rising. Benvi, look, we'll let you go. Enjoy the win, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you. Cheers, guys.
So happy.
Zinger box is just a secret.
You could hear in the background, just... I didn't know it was Lemus at the time. I thought it was Daystar.
Ben Rakan. Just a robot in the background.
Ben Rakan. Beautiful. Beautifully done.
The thing that got me was when he said the gameplay speaks for itself, and I thought, oh my god, these tensions, man. It's just like this between these two teams right now.
Is that what Aldoric said the other day?
That's it, right? It's like they're just going right at each other. It's,
I love it.
It's getting hectic all the way.
Beef,
I'm kind of like low-key hoping it goes to a best of 5, and then that is going to be the most insane series.
Hey, Hey, what would you say? Bliss Chiefs grand final, fisticuffs, show match.
I haven't seen enough
Halfway
of Bliss
through.
versus Chiefs, apparently. I'm
Little
ready
bit of
for
boxing.
more.
More.
There's just so much Bliss versus Chiefs.
By the way, look, Dare MVP Dare MVP time.
It's late.
It's late. It's actually
Yeah.
not that late. I was expecting us to go to 11 p.m. tonight, but we haven't. By the way, let's see who you voted as the Dare MVP for the second series today, and it was Why Not with 76% KP, 9-3 and 26. Really set the team up for success today. Didn't have a huge amount of damage in that second game, but in the first, did a whole...
Yeah, I don't want to say solo carried game one, but it was a major part of their team fight wins in game number one. Also won every single smite fight that was a 50-50 or a flip. So let's not undervalue how important those were to the game, because he did it in every single game. Herald in game two and was constantly finding angles. I think Why Not by far the better jungler in this series.
Yeah, straight outperforming Babip, I think, especially in a lot of those skirmishes around Rift Herald, around Dragon. Just finding a lot more value. We talked about that Wukong game, but in terms of being able to lock down players as well, I think that, you know, being a good jungler and having jungle advantage enables someone like Daystar to get ahead as well in those 2v2s. So really a potent mid-jungle combo that is serving very well for Bliss.
And of course, if you didn't know, the Wukong clan ain't nothing to fuck with. Now you know that. Of course, it is, of course, us moving slightly forward.
What? He just lost his job. he just got told he's
been,
fired.
You're fired.
See ya.
And he's
Bye.
been powered off.
Mac was an AI all along.
I lost all energy. Lost all energy.
Oh,
It's gone.
mate.
Completely gone. Now, look, we got Play of the Day. Play of the Day is coming through.
This is
and
hard.
There was a lot. There was a lot of good stuff today. But we have gone with a cheeky little outplay between Kisei and Daystar in the mid lane. Have a look at this. We'll run it back, and then we'll get Kitty, of course, to do the play-by-play.
I guess I'm Kitty today,
Yeah, you're
am I?
Kitty,
okay,
mate. There you
perfect.
go.
Well, the play's already done, Mac, so
Yep.
that's my extra play-by-play.
Luckily, we're running it back. Here you go.
We're running it back. Okay, so the E lands onto Daystar. Look at Daystar activating the distortion back. Right after the Shuriken lands, Daystar navigating his clone down towards the turret. Kisei uses the perfect execution, but onto the wrong one. Daystar hits him with the penguin dab. That's got to hurt.
You know what also gets me with that little play is LeBlanc clone. You're never sure what effects show on the clone. So like the corrupting potion or the potion healing does show, but certain other things do not, like press the attack, procs, etc., etc. So maybe you got done in a little bit by that one.
Okay, well, in the moment as well, like milliseconds. It's all decision making when it comes down to it. And there were a few like other great mechanical scenarios we were in today as well. Two Gnar ults, or like two Gnar bar when they're getting full, getting denied as well. I think there was like a 3-man Gnar denial with a Lee Sin kick at one point.
Jarvan
And then in the
ult.
next game,
Jarvan ult as
Jarvan
well.
ult as well, denying that from having impact
Yeah.
when there was a sick flank angle. So yeah, everyone really mechanics maxing today as as this bloody stage goes on. And I cannot wait to see what's going on in the playoffs bracket. And let's have a look at who's where, who's doing what, who's playing who. We got Direwolves and Chiefs as that first game on Monday, and then the second game, Team Bliss up against PGG. These are both going to be scorchers, and anything could happen.
You know what's funny is if Direwolves and Pensinet win, or Chiefs and Bliss win,
This is rematch
we're
again.
just rematching again.
But stakes go higher.
Yeah,
Stakes get higher.
Well, it stays best of 3 for that, if that's the case, right?
Yeah.
The stakes obviously significantly higher because it's actually an elimination round that time, so a lot more on the line.
Insane. Insane. I can't believe we're at playoffs already. Like 4 teams all knocked out, 4 teams remaining. And of course, look, we are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games away from securing our 2 teams that were sending over to PCS.
And I'm kind of excited because I feel like these are very stylistically matched teams. Like Direwolves and Chiefs quite content to try and scale into the later portions of the game, right? 15 minutes stability, they're feeling strong, a couple of items online. Let's fight. Let's see who can fight better. Team Bliss and PGG, pre-15 minutes, they're coming at you. Like, we're invading, I'm being creative, I'm camping your lane, you don't know where I'm at, what's going to happen? You know, Schoenfire versus Why Not firing on all cylinders today? I think it should be a really cool test to sort of see the polar opposites between all these top 4 teams as to what happens when you basically have that mirror match against each other.
Now look, let's have a quick look at the schedule for Monday. It's going to be insane. I don't think there's going to be a break between that first and second game. If this game between Direwolves and the Chiefs doesn't go to 3, I'm going to be completely surprised. Almost as surprised as I am that Team Bliss just won that in 2 games. But the same thing can be said Team Bliss, if they play like they just did up against Pentanet, playing like they did today, then PGG could be getting knocked to the lower bracket, even though a lot of people have them as like heavy favorites coming into this split. You know, I think Kitty had them as the top of her power rankings as well. That was PGG, right? I think she had PGG.
I believe she did, yes.
You both.
I went Chiefs, number 1.
Chiefs.
Yeah.
I had Team Bliss.
Yeah, Bliss.
You did.
And
You're in. You're in the race.
hey, I'm in the race.
Let's
I'm in
not
the
talk about the rest of your predictions, but
race.
you've got Bliss 1.
How good are best of ones? How good are best of ones?
We love those.
Look, but of course, none of this would be possible without people like Kitty. You're not Kitty. You took
Thanks,
the job
Kitty.
today. But unfortunately, she couldn't be with us today. It is, of course, International Women's Day, and just want to put a quick shout out to all the women behind the scenes and in front of the camera who are doing a lot of great work here on the LCO, and also just everyone for being them, of course, all the women out there. In particular, we got Ash, we got Laura, we got Michelle, we got Triana, and yeah, everyone's just been doing some lovely work. And of course, Kitty, who isn't here right now. But look, thank you for being you, and keep on doing you, because you make the ball go round, and we love you.
Facts.
Yeah, nicely said.
No, you said it all, man.
Yep, nothing from you guys.
Speak your truth.
Boom, and that's it, and that's it. So look, thank you all for joining us here on the LCO today. We got playoffs to get to. You got to go back to Melbourne and then back next week.
Yeah.
So what's your plans for the weekend before we let you go? We let you off the chain.
I'm studying, bro. I'm back in uni, so studying. Playing some League. I haven't played solo queue in like 2 weeks, and I feel really good. I'm probably gonna play solo queue and then feel really bad, but hey, it's just the life cycle of a League player.
It's just the you got your ups and your downs. You have them all the time, of course. Any words from you? But what are you doing on the weekend, huh? It's going to be a good 3-4 days since I see you. Until I see you.
I think you know what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be playing volleyball
What, really?
all the time.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Skimmy, you playing volleyball as well?
Addicted.
No, I'm back off to New Zealand again for the weekend.
Oh, yeah?
So
He's got a haka.
I've got to
Is it
do
this weekend?
I've got to learn to do the haka. I've got to go to a Maori wedding, and I've got to do that with some friends. So that's going to be pretty intense.
Well, so you're going for not PCS this time? You're going for a
Not
wedding?
PCS this time, no.
Okay.
I'm going back to Christchurch, where I came from originally. I might come back with some funny videos.
Ready to dance.
You can
There you
you
go.
can watch
Yeah.
me do that and say
Hey.
what's going on here.
Yep. Teach us all
I'm
the
gonna ask
haka,
Super.
huh? That'll be fun. That'll be a little bit of fun.
Yeah.
Either way, look, thank you all for joining us today here. Again, look, shout out to all the lovely women in our lives. We'll see you all next week for playoffs, because 4 teams remain and we got to kick 2 more out before PCS comes around the corner. See you then.
Together.
Still chasing, still hunting, still looking as the Direwolves camp.
Blind hook on the bush. They face check Chippy. Ceaseless taken 2 with them to the
Violet.
grave. Here we go for another. Schönfire lagging behind. And honestly, Chaz's Talia at this point is just doing far too much damage. That he can just take anybody down for the delayed ace.
Flank, they find Chaz. He's in big trouble.
He certainly is. Oh, he's already flashed across the wall. Rusty, it's the disaster. Blast cone back into the furnace and taken down in an absolute heartbeat.
damage.
Hook goes out. Appy's to focus. Charmed his decoy. Now he's dead. In jump Chippy. Cleanse this. You're dead by the time you found that moment to strike. And a shutdown that feels honest. Going to go
They
for the
spot
fake
him
check.
now.
He's going to jump in and find the biggest stun you'll ever see. 3 members locked in place. Down
Oh my
goes the
God.
knock. Oh my god. Aurelian Skull's not balanced. Look at the HP shred. Zoran is forced to run away.
And look at this outer turret, but
Bendy completely isolated. Flashes across the wall inside the river. Just so much damage taken out there by Babbitt. But the retaliation from Why Not is absurd. Look at that with R2 of the Cyclone. Finds a double kill. They just
Bendy gets
running out
hooked.
of the shadows. Out goes the hook. In goes the charge. There are the Call of the Forge Gods. Everybody getting knocked up. And who survives? That's the question. Ray's still alive. He's life leech like you would not believe. But the charge brittle prop.
Oh, Liv
And
is
Liv has
crazy.
just done it for his team.